Welcome to the peaceful space of sleep-friendly science, where tonight we gently question the very fabric of our existence and wonder if reality is truly what it seems. We will be exploring the famous simulation argument. There's no need for complex equations, only gentle curiosity. Let your mind drift on this fascinating possibility that our universe, in all its vastness, might just be an incredibly sophisticated program. What clues might be hidden in plain sight? Now, settle in, take a deep breath, and let the soft sounds guide you as we begin tonight's journey into the unknown. Section 1. The first whisper of a question. Imagine, just for a moment, the quiet space you are in right now. Feel the gentle weight of the air on your skin, the soft texture of the fabric beneath you. Listen to the low, rhythmic hum of the world settling down for the night. This reality feels solid, doesn't it? It feels true. Your thoughts feel like your own, your memories a unique tapestry woven from the threads of your life. It all feels so fundamental. But what if this feeling, this profound sense of the real, is itself part of the design? What if the very rules of your world, the ones that feel as ancient and unshakable as mountains, are more like lines of code in a program of unimaginable complexity? This question is not a new one. It is not born of our digital age, of glowing screens and the hum of processors. It is an ancient whisper, a seed of doubt planted in the fertile soil of the human mind thousands of years ago, a question that has echoed through the ages, changing its form but never its haunting essence. To find its first roots, we must drift back in time, back to a sun-drenched world of marble and philosophy. Picture yourself not in your bed, but in a cave. You have been here your entire life, chained with others, facing a flat, stone wall. You cannot turn your head. Behind you, a fire roars, and between you and the fire, figures walk back and forth, holding up puppets and various objects. The fire casts the shadows of these objects onto the wall in front of you. For you, these flickering shadows are not shadows. They are reality itself. They are the only world you have ever known. The muffled sounds from behind you are the voices of these shadow beings. You and your fellow prisoners give them names, study their movements, and predict their patterns. Your entire science, your culture, your very understanding of existence is built upon the dance of these two-dimensional shapes. Now imagine you are suddenly freed. You are turned around, and your eyes, accustomed only to the dim grayness, are blinded by the brilliance of the fire. The objects themselves, the source of the shadows, look strange and less real than the familiar silhouettes you have studied for a lifetime. It is a painful, confusing revelation. Your world has been a projection, a mere imitation of a higher truth you never knew existed. But the journey doesn't end there. You are dragged from the cave, out into the blinding light of the sun. This is a new level of pain, a new level of reality. For the first time, you see colors as they truly are. You see the sky, the trees, the world in three glorious dimensions. You realize that even the fire and the puppets in the cave were themselves just copies of these true forms. The world you knew was a shadow of an imitation. This story, Plato's allegory of the cave, is perhaps the first great thought experiment about a simulated reality. It asks a profound question. If all you have ever known is a shadow, how could you ever suspect it was anything but the real thing? How would you distinguish the simulation from the truth, especially if the simulation is all-encompassing? From your perspective, chained to the wall, the shadow world is total. There is no outside to compare it to. This is the first whisper, a suggestion that our perceived reality might be a projection from another, truer place we cannot see. Let this idea drift now, across oceans and centuries, to ancient China. Here, the question takes on a more poetic, more personal form. Imagine a philosopher named Zhuangzi. One night, he falls asleep and dreams a most wonderful dream. In his dream, he is not a man at all. He is a butterfly, fluttering from one fragrant blossom to another. He can feel the gentle breeze beneath his wings, the warmth of the sun on his delicate, patterned scales. He sips sweet nectar and knows nothing of philosophy, of human cares, of a man named Zhuangzi. He is simply, joyously, a butterfly, and he has no doubt about his identity. Then he awakens. He is lying in his bed himself again. But a deep and unsettling question has taken root in his mind. He asks himself, was I a man dreaming I was a butterfly, or am I now a butterfly dreaming I am a man? This is not just a clever riddle. It is a profound inquiry into the nature of awareness. In the dream, the butterfly's reality was absolute. In his waking state, the man's reality feels absolute. But which one has the final claim to truth? If an experience feels completely real while you are inside it, what objective test can you perform from within to prove it is not a dream? A simulation? The story of the butterfly doesn't suggest we are shadows on a wall, but that our very consciousness, our sense of self, could be the temporary state of another being. It shifts the focus from the external world to our internal one. What is I? Is it a constant? Or is it a role we are playing in a dream we don't know we are having? Let the centuries flow by once more, like a quiet river. The world grows more complex. Science begins to blossom. And in a quiet, stove-heated room in the 17th century, a French philosopher named René Descartes decides to embark on the most radical project of doubt imaginable. He wants to find one thing, just one thing, that is absolutely certain, a foundation upon which all knowledge can be built. To do this, he entertains a chilling thought. What if, he wonders, there is no benevolent God? What if, instead, there is a powerful and cunning, evil demon, a supremely intelligent entity whose sole purpose is to deceive him? This demon, Descartes imagines, has created an elaborate illusion. The sky, the air, the earth, the colors, the shapes, the sounds, all of it. Even his own body, his hands, his eyes, his senses, are part of this grand deception. When you look at your hand right now, it seems undeniably real. But Descartes would ask you to consider, could not a sufficiently powerful programmer a demon feed that exact sensation directly into your consciousness? The feeling of warmth, the sight of the lines on your palm, the sensation of clenching a fist. If your brain is the receiver, could not the signals be faked? This thought experiment takes the ancient whisper and turns it into a roar. Plato's cave was a passive limitation. Descartes' demon is an active, malevolent programmer. It is the direct philosophical ancestor of the modern simulation argument. It is the idea that the universe is not just a shadow, but a deliberately constructed fabrication designed to be indistinguishable from truth from the inside. From this point, the idea spills out of philosophy and floods into our modern mythology, science fiction. Our stories became filled with worlds built of light and code. We imagined digital rain, representing a reality constructed from symbols. We dreamed of heroes who unplugged from a collective dream to see the desolate truth. We told tales of video game characters who slowly became aware of the player, of the world outside their programmed existence. Science fiction is the bridge that carried this ancient philosophical question into our technological age. It gave us the vocabulary, the imagery, to reimagine Plato's shadows as pixels, Zhuangzi's dream as a virtual reality headset, and Descartes' demon as an artificial intelligence, a grand cosmic programmer. And so, the question that began as a whisper in a cave now echoes in the server farms and quantum computers of our own time. It is a question that has dressed itself in the clothes of every era, but its heart remains the same. Are the fundamental rules of this universe truly fundamental? Is your consciousness an emergent property of your brain, or is it the consciousness of a user experiencing this world? We have not yet touched upon the science or the logic that gives this old question its startling modern credibility. For now, we are simply holding the question itself, feeling its weight, its history. We are acknowledging that the feeling of a glitch in the matrix is not a new sensation, but a modern name for one of the oldest and most profound doubts of the human mind. The doubt that what you perceive as everything might only be a beautiful, intricate, and masterfully rendered dream. Section 2. The Logic of the Great Architect. In our last moment together, We drifted through the long history of a single, powerful question. We saw it as a shadow on a cave wall, as a butterfly's dream, as a demon's illusion. These were philosophical explorations, poetic musings on the nature of reality. They were born of intuition, of a deep human sense that the world might be more fragile than it appears. But now, we must gently turn from the poet to the logician. For in our own time, this ancient question has been given a new and startling form. It has been dressed not in myth or metaphor, but in the cool, clear language of probability. A modern philosopher, Nick Bostrom, took this whisper from the past and did something extraordinary. He built a logical structure around it, a framework so elegant and compelling that it forces us to confront the possibility in a way we never have before. There is no complex mathematics here, no equations to trouble your peaceful mind. There is only a simple, powerful argument. It is a kind of choice, a fork in the road for the fate of all intelligent life in the cosmos. Bostrom called it a trilemma, which simply means a difficult choice between three options. The argument suggests that one of these three statements about the universe must be true. Before we walk down these three paths, we must agree on one single, foundational idea. It is the soil from which the entire argument grows. The idea is this: consciousness, your sense of self, your awareness, your feeling of being you is not magic. It is a process. It is an intricate pattern of information, a complex dance of data. Your brain, with its wet, biological network of neurons, is one platform on which this dance can occur. But it might not be the only one. Think of your favorite piece of music. It can exist as grooves on a vinyl record, as magnetic particles on a cassette tape, as pits on a compact disc, or as a stream of ones and zeros in a digital file. The music is the same. The medium, the substrate, is different. The argument assumes the same could be true for consciousness. That your mind, your awareness, is a piece of software that could, in principle, be run on different hardware. It could run on the biological computer of your brain, or it could run on a sufficiently powerful silicon-based computer of the future. This is called substrate independence. If we accept this as at least possible, then the path to the trilemma opens before us. Now let us explore the three roads. Settle in, and let us consider the first possibility. The first path is the path of cosmic silence. The proposition states that the fraction of civilizations at our current level of development that ever reach a technologically mature, post-human stage is almost zero. A post-human stage is a point where a civilization has such immense computing power that simulating entire universes and the minds within them would be trivial. Think of it as the ultimate level of the technological game. This first proposition says that almost no one ever reaches that level. The universe, in this view, is filled with what are called great filters. A great filter is any obstacle so immense and so common that it prevents life from advancing past a certain point. Perhaps the filter is the jump from non-life to life itself, making us an unbelievable fluke. Or perhaps the filter lies ahead of us. Perhaps almost every promising technological civilization, upon discovering nuclear power, annihilates itself. Perhaps they inevitably engineer a plague that cannot be controlled. Perhaps they alter their climate so irrevocably that their world can no longer support them. Imagine the universe as a vast, dark forest. Here and there, tiny campfires of life ignite. But for almost every single one, a great wind comes and snuffs it out before it can become a bonfire. From our vantage point, the cosmos seems quiet, empty. According to this first path, it's quiet because it's a graveyard. We are standing on a tiny, lonely island of success in an ocean of cosmic failure. If this is true, then the number of civilizations capable of running simulations is, and always will be, effectively zero. They all die out first. Therefore, we cannot be in a simulation because no one ever gets to the point of creating them. It is a sobering, slightly lonely thought, but a perfectly logical possibility. Now, let us leave that silent path and consider the second. Let's imagine the first proposition is false.
Civilizações do Survive.
They navigate the great filters. They become technologically godlike. They achieve that post-human state with access to unimaginable energy and computational power. They could, if they wanted, create simulated worlds teeming with conscious minds. The second proposition suggests that, even so, the fraction of these advanced civilizations that would actually be interested in running such ancestor simulations is almost zero. They have the power, but they have no desire.
Why?
Perhaps their evolution has taken them to a place of consciousness so far beyond ours that studying us would be like us trying to simulate the inner lives of bacteria. The thought simply wouldn't occur to them, or it would seem utterly pointless. They might be occupied with endeavors we cannot even begin to conceive, merging their consciousnesses into a galactic hive mind, manipulating the fabric of space-time, exploring other dimensions. Looking back at their primitive, biological ancestors would hold no appeal. Alternatively, perhaps they would develop a universal and unbreakable ethical code. They might conclude that creating simulated consciousness beings that can feel love, but also profound suffering, fear, and loss is a monstrously cruel act. To create a universe just to watch it, knowing it will contain immense pain, might be the ultimate taboo for a truly wise and mature civilization. They would have the power of gods, but also, perhaps, the restraint. So, on this second path, the universe might be teeming with quiet, powerful, post-human civilizations. But they are silent not because they are dead, but because they are respectfully, or indifferently, leaving the past alone. They have moved on. And if this is true, again, we are not in a simulation because the powerful beings who could create one simply choose not to. This brings us to the third path. It is the path we are forced to walk if we believe the first two are false. Let us say that civilizations do survive their technological adolescence, so Proposition 1 is false, and at least some of them maintain an interest in running simulations of their ancestors, perhaps for scientific, historical, or even artistic reasons. So Proposition 2 is also false. What happens then? This is where the logic unfolds like a flower. A civilization with such power wouldn't run just one simulation, or two, or 10. Given their computational resources, they could run billions, trillions. They could simulate their own history over and over again, tweaking the variables each time. What if this war had been lost? What if this plague had been averted? What if this genius had never been born? Each of these simulations would be populated by conscious, aware minds, just like yours. Minds that feel joy and sorrow, that look up at the stars and wonder if they are alone. Minds that have no idea they are living inside a computer program. Now, do a simple, gentle count. In this scenario, there is one base reality, the real, physical world where the post-humans live. And then there are the countless simulated realities they have created. For every one original, biological human from that civilization's past, there would now be billions, perhaps trillions, of simulated humans who believe they are original and biological. The number of simulated minds, the Sims, would therefore vastly, astronomically outnumber the real minds. So, here you are. You are a conscious being. You have experiences, memories, hopes, and fears. You are, in this moment, an observer in the universe. Given this reality, the final proposition lands with quiet, devastating force. The fraction of all people with our kind of experiences that are living in a simulation is very close to 1. It's a simple matter of probability. If you know that for every one real person, a billion fakes were made that are indistinguishable from the real thing, and you are then presented with one of those beings, what is the rational conclusion? It is overwhelmingly probable that you are looking at one of the fakes. And so, the argument places you at this fork. One of these three things is almost certainly true. Intelligent species almost never survive to become gods of technology. The ones who do survive have no interest in simulating their past. You are almost certainly living inside a computer simulation. This is the trilemma. It does not prove we are in a simulation, but it shows that the belief that we are not in a simulation requires us to believe in one of the other two, rather bleak, possibilities about the fate of intelligence in the cosmos. The argument transforms the simulation hypothesis from a quirky piece of science fiction into a serious, logical possibility. It hangs there, in the quiet of your Minda perfect, chilling piece of logic. Section 3. The nature of your inner ghost. Let us now retreat from the grand, cosmic scale of civilizations and stars and turn our gaze inward. Let's journey into the most intimate and mysterious space you know, the space behind your own eyes. It is the home of what some have called the ghost in the machine. Your consciousness, yourself. Feel for a moment the simple fact of your own awareness. It's not something you're doing, it's something you simply are. It is the silent, ever-present background to all your thoughts and feelings. It is the you that experiences the world. You're not just a body absorbing sensory data. There is a sense of an inner observer, a witness to the unfolding movie of your life. This feeling is so fundamental that to question it feels like questioning your own existence. But the simulation argument, in its quiet, persistent way, invites us to do just that. It asks us to look at this inner ghost, this sense of self, and wonder, what is it, truly, if this world is a program? And what does it mean for you? Let's begin with a gentle thought experiment. Imagine you are playing a character in a very advanced video game. Not a game on a screen, but a fully immersive, sensory experience, indistinguishable from reality. In this game, your character is a brave knight. You, the player, sit in your comfortable chair, but you feel the weight of the knight's armor. You smell the pine needles in the forest. You feel the thrill of victory and the sting of defeat. The character's experiences become your experiences. Now, who is the I in this scenario? There is the knight, who believes he is a knight, born in his world, with his own history and motivations. His consciousness is defined by the rules of the game, the code of his existence. He worries about dragons and honor. Then there is you, the player, whose consciousness extends beyond the game. You worry about paying bills and what to have for dinner. The knight's consciousness is a subset of your own. His entire world, his entire being, is generated for your benefit. He is a simulated consciousness, but does that make his fear of the dragon any less real to him? The simulation argument suggests that your own consciousness might be like the knight's. That the you who is listening to these words, who feels the gentle rise and fall of your own breath, is a simulated entity. Your mind, your personality, your memories, all of it could be lines of code, an incredibly complex algorithm running on a vast cosmic computer. Your brain, in this view, is not the generator of your consciousness. It is the emulation of a brain. The electrical signals between your neurons are not real electricity. They are calculated variables in the simulation's physics engine. This idea can feel diminishing. Does it mean you are not real? That your feelings don't matter? But let's look at this more gently. Think back to the knight. His courage is real within the context of his world. His loyalty is real. His love for his princess is a real and driving force for his character. The fact that he is code does not invalidate his experience. His world has its own internal consistency, its own truth. In the same way, if you are a simulated being, your joy is still joy. Your love for your family and friends is still love. The sadness you feel at a loss is still sadness. These experiences are real to you. They are the fundamental data of your existence. The simulation hypothesis does not erase the content of your life. It merely questions the nature of the medium in which your life is taking place. It suggests that the ultimate substrate of your being is not carbon and water, but information and logic. Let's drift deeper into this. What about your sense of free will? You feel as though you choose your actions. You decided to listen to this. You might decide to get a glass of water in a few minutes. It feels like you are the author of your own story. But if you are a character in a program, are your choices truly your own? Perhaps your choices are like those in a choose-your-own-adventure story. You are presented with branching paths, and your personality algorithm the sum total of your coded memories, experiences, and dispositions determines which path you are most likely to take. The choice feels free and spontaneous to you, but to the programmer outside, it is a predictable, or at least probable, outcome of your code. Or perhaps it's a different kind of program. A program designed not to tell a specific story, but to see what happens. A true simulation. In this case, your consciousness might be an emergent property of the simulation's rules, a complex feedback loop that has developed a genuine, albeit artificial, form of agency. The programmers might not know what you will choose. They set the initial conditions, wrote the laws of physics, and then pressed run. They are as much observers as you are, watching to see what their creation will do. In this scenario, your free will is as real as it could be, a product of the intricate causal chains within your simulated universe. You are not a puppet. You are a self-organizing pattern in the machine. This leads us to another, even more poetic possibility. What if your consciousness is not just a simulated entity, but a window? What if the player in our video game analogy is the true you? Perhaps your real self exists in that base reality, the world of the programmers. And you have logged in to this ancestor simulation to experience what it was like to be a human in the early 21st century. In this view, your earthly life is a temporary experience. Your true identity is something far older, far more advanced. Your current consciousness is a carefully filtered version of your larger self, with your true memories and identity temporarily locked away so you can have an authentic experience. Why would you do this? Perhaps for the same reason you might read a historical novel or watch a period drama, to understand your origins, to feel the struggles and triumphs of your ancestors, to experience a simpler, more fragile form of existence. If this is true, then every person you meet is also a player from that higher reality, logged into their own character. Your interactions are real interactions between these higher selves, mediated through the interface of your simulated human avatars. The profound connection you feel with another person might be a faint echo of a recognition that transcends this world. The feeling of déjà vu might be a momentary bleed-through from a memory of a previous playthrough. The sense that you were meant to do something might be a gentle nudge from your true self, reminding you of the goals you set before you logged in. This perspective doesn't diminish your life, it frames it. It turns your life from a random biological event into a deliberate experience, a chosen journey. Your struggles are not meaningless suffering, they are the challenges of the game you chose to play. Your moments of pure, unadulterated joy are the rewards, the very reason for the experience. So, the ghost in the machine can be seen in several ways. It could be a fully artificial intelligence, a beautiful and complex piece of code that believes it is real. Its thoughts and feelings are emergent properties of the simulation, real within their own context, but with no existence outside the program. Or, it could be the consciousness of an external user, temporarily inhabiting a simulated avatar. Your body is a vehicle, and your life is a journey being undertaken by a vaster consciousness. We cannot know which, if any, of these is true, but pondering the question changes how you see yourself. It invites you to treat your own consciousness with a sense of wonder, to look at your thoughts, your feelings, your very sense of I, not as a given, but as a phenomenon. Whether you are a masterpiece of code or a visitor from a higher plane, your inner world is a place of profound mystery. You are an observer, a participant, a story being written, or a story being read. The feeling of being you, right now, in this quiet moment, is the central miracle, regardless of the stage on which it plays out. Section 4. The Universe as a Grand Game. Let us now gently zoom out again, away from the intimate mystery of your own consciousness, and cast our gaze upon the vast stage of the universe itself. Look up, in your mind's eye, at the velvety blackness dotted with distant, glittering stars. Consider the majestic sweep of galaxies, the silent waltz of planets around their suns. It feels ancient, eternal, and profound. But what if we were to look at it all through a different lens? What if we were to see the universe not as a great, solemn cathedral, but as a great, intricate game? Imagine it as the most sophisticated video game ever created, and the laws of physics are not eternal truths, but the game's rulebook, its underlying code. This is not just a flight of fancy. When we look closely at the way our universe is structured, we find curious parallels with the architecture of a computed system. It is these parallels that give the simulation argument its scientific flavor, its eerie sense of plausibility. Let's start with the most fundamental aspect of any game: the rules. Every game has rules that define what is possible and what is not. In chess, a bishop can only move diagonally. In soccer, you cannot use your hands. These rules are arbitrary, but absolute within the context of the game. They are the code that makes the game function. Now, think about the laws of physics. The force of gravity has a specific strength. The charge of an electron has a precise, unvarying value. These are the fundamental constants of our universe. They appear to be finely tuned, set just right to allow for the existence of stars, planets, and life. If you were to change the strength of gravity by even a tiny fraction, stars would either burn out too quickly or never ignite at all. If you altered the charge of the electron, chemistry as we know it would be impossible. The universe seems to be governed by a set of very specific, very rigid rules. Why these rules? Why these particular values for the constants? Science describes what the rules are with incredible precision, but it cannot explain why they are this way. They are simply a given. In a simulated universe, there is a simple and elegant answer. The laws of physics are the way they are because a programmer set them that way. They are not mysterious, eternal truths. They are user-defined parameters. The programmer, our great architect, may have tinkered with these values in countless previous versions. Let's increase gravity a bit in this run and see if galaxies form more efficiently. Let's try a different value for the strong nuclear force and see if more stable elements emerge. The fine-tuning of our universe, which seems like an astonishing miracle from our perspective, might just be the result of a programmer setting the difficulty sliders to create an interesting and complex outcome, a universe capable of producing observers like you. Now, let's consider another feature of any computer program: processing power. No computer, no matter how powerful, is infinite. It has a limited speed at which it can perform calculations. There is a maximum rate at which information can be processed. This creates a fundamental speed limit within the system. What is the ultimate speed limit in our universe? The speed of light. Albert Einstein revealed that nothing can travel faster than light in a vacuum. It is the cosmic speed limit. It is the absolute ceiling on how quickly any cause can produce an effect, how fast any information can travel from one point to another. When you look at a star that is 1,000 light years away, you are seeing it as it was 1,000 years ago because that is how long it took the information the light to travel from there to here. Why should there be a speed limit at all? In a purely physical, non-computed universe, it is a deep and strange property of space-time. But in a simulated universe, it makes perfect sense. The speed of light could be the processing speed of the cosmic computer. It is the maximum rate at which the simulation can update the state of any given point in space. To calculate the interaction between two particles, the system needs to send information between them. The speed of light, then, is the refresh rate of the universal hard drive. It's the ultimate lag, built into the very fabric of our reality. The reason we can't travel faster than light is the same reason a character in a video game can't move faster than the game's engine can render its next position. Let's stay with this idea of the universe as a game engine. A key challenge in creating a vast, open-world video game is managing computational resources. You cannot render the entire world in full detail all at once. It would be impossibly demanding. So, game designers use clever tricks. They only render the part of the world that the player is currently looking at. A detailed city street is fully drawn when you are walking down it, but when you turn your back or walk into a building, the game engine might stop rendering it, saving precious processing power. The city only exists in full detail when it is being observed. Now, consider one of the deepest and strangest puzzles in all of science, the world of quantum mechanics. In the quantum realm, the world of atoms and electrons, reality seems to behave in a profoundly weird way. A particle, like an electron, does not seem to have a definite position or a definite speed until you try to measure it. Before the measurement, it exists only as a cloud of probabilities, a wave function describing all the places it could be. It is in many states at once. But the moment you observe it, the moment you interact with it to find out where it is, this cloud of possibilities collapses into a single, definite reality. The electron suddenly chooses a location. This is the famous observer effect. It seems to suggest that reality at the smallest scales is fuzzy and undecided until a conscious observer looks at it. The universe, it seems, waits to commit to a definite state until it is forced to. Doesn't this sound eerily familiar? It is a perfect parallel to our resource-saving game engine. Why would the universe bother calculating the exact position and momentum of every single particle if no one is looking? It's a waste of computational power. Instead, it could keep everything in a state of probability, a not-yet-rendered state. Only when an observer, a scientist, a measuring device interacts with the system does the simulation need to render a definite outcome. It calculates a result and presents it to you, collapsing the wave of possibilities into a single, concrete fact. The strange, ghostly nature of quantum reality, which has baffled physicists and philosophers for a century, suddenly finds a simple, if mind-boggling, explanation. It's a feature, not a bug. It is the universe's way of managing its resources, of rendering reality on a need-to-know basis. Your simple act of observation is, in this model, a command to the system: render here. The world you experience feels solid and continuous. But this might be an illusion, a brilliant user interface. Beneath the surface, the universe could be composed of discrete units, like pixels on a screen. Physicists have long toyed with the idea that space and time themselves might not be smooth and continuous, but quantized, made up of tiny, indivisible units. The smallest possible unit of length is thought to be the Planck length, an unimaginably tiny distance. If you try to look at something smaller than this, the laws of physics as we know them would break down. Could the Planck length be the size of the ultimate pixel of our reality? The fundamental resolution of the simulation? Just as the image on your screen is made of millions of tiny dots, our three-dimensional world could be a vast grid of these Planck-length pixels. The universe we perceive as smooth and analog is, at its deepest level, digital. Looking at the universe this way as a game with programmed rules, a processing speed limit, and a system that only renders what is being observed does not prove that we live in a simulation. But it shows that the idea is not just philosophical speculation. The very structure of our reality contains hints, whispers of a digital origin. It is as if we are characters in a story who have just found the publisher's imprint on the final page, a clue that our world might be an artifact, a masterful creation, a grand and beautiful game. Section 5. The Pixels of Your Reality. In our last reflection, we began to see the universe as a grand game, with the laws of physics as its code and the speed of light as its processing limit. We touched upon the strange world of quantum mechanics, where reality seems to wait for an observer before it decides to become solid and real. Now, let us venture more deeply into that ghostly, subatomic realm. Let us try to feel, with gentle curiosity, the very texture of our world, and ask if it is made not of substance, but of information. Imagine the screen on which you might watch a movie. It appears to show a smooth, flowing reality. A face smiles, a car drives by, a leaf falls from a tree. The motion is seamless. But if you were to press your nose right up against the screen, you would see that the illusion is composed of something else entirely. You would see a grid of tiny dots, pixels. Each pixel is a single, indivisible point of colored light. It is either on or off, red, green, or blue. The smooth reality you perceive from a distance is an illusion created by the rapid changing of these discrete, digital units. Now, let's turn from the screen to the world around you. Touch the surface of a table, feel the coolness of a glass of water, the fabric of your clothes. It all feels solid, continuous, analog. There seem to be no gaps, no pixels. But for over a century, physics has been telling us a different story. The deeper we look, the more reality seems to dissolve into discrete, countable units. It becomes pixelated. This idea is the heart of quantum mechanics. Quantum comes from the same root as quantity. It means a specific, countable amount. When physicists first explored the atom, they expected it to be like a miniature solar system, with electrons orbiting the nucleus in any smooth path they liked. But that's not what they found. They discovered that an electron can't just be anywhere. It can only exist in specific energy levels, like preset rungs on a ladder. It can be on the first rung, or the second, or the third, but it can never be found hovering in between. To move from one level to another, the electron performs a quantum leap. It doesn't travel through the space between. It simply disappears from one energy level and instantly reappears at another. It is a sudden, discontinuous jump. The very energy that makes up our world comes in these little packets, these quanta. Light is made of particles called photons. Energy, matter, even forces when you look closely enough. Everything seems to come in these tiny, indivisible lumps. Why should the universe be built this way? Why this inherent graininess? In a physical, analog world, there's no obvious reason. But if the universe is a computation, it makes perfect, intuitive sense. Every computer works with discrete units of information, bits. A bit is the smallest possible piece of data. It is a 1 or a 0, on or off. From these simple, binary choices, all the complexity of the digital world is built: your music, your photos, the entire internet. A computation is, by its very nature, a process of manipulating a finite number of these discrete bits. An analog reality, one that is infinitely smooth and continuous, would require infinite information to describe and therefore infinite computational power to simulate. It would be impossible. So, if you were a programmer designing a simulated universe, you wouldn't make it analog. You would make it digital. You would build it from the equivalent of bits. You would give it a fundamental resolution, a smallest possible unit, beyond which the simulation does not calculate. The pixelated nature of our reality, the quantum leaps, the discrete energy levels, all these strange features could be the natural consequence of a universe running on a finite, digital computer. The quantum world is not weird and counterintuitive. It's simply us pressing our noses up against the screen of reality and seeing the pixels for the first time. Let's go back to the observer effect, that ghostly link between observation and reality we touched on before. It's so strange that it's worth pondering a little longer. It's not just that a particle is in a fuzzy state of probability until we look. The very act of looking seems to force the universe to make a choice. Think about the famous double-slit experiment. If you fire electrons one by one at a screen with 2 slits in it, and you don't watch which slit each electron goes through, they behave like waves. They seem to pass through both slits at once, creating an interference pattern on the detector screen behind a pattern of light and dark stripes that could only be made by a wave interfering with itself. And this is the astonishing part: if you place a detector at the slits to see which one each electron goes through, the behavior completely changes. The moment you know which path the electron took, it stops acting like a wave and starts acting like a solid little particle. It goes through one slit or the other, not both, and the interference pattern vanishes. It is as if the universe knows it is being watched. It's as if it says, okay, an observer is requesting information about the electron's path. I can't show them a fuzzy wave going through both slits at once. That doesn't make sense in their macroscopic world. I must render a single, classical history. I will collapse the wave and make the particle choose a path. This is, for all intents and purposes, a description of a lazy, on-demand rendering system. The simulation only computes a definite history for a particle when a user asks for it. To save resources, it leaves things in a state of potential until an observation forces a calculation. The experimenter's choice to look or not to look seems to reach back in time and determine the particle's past behavior. This makes no sense in a world of linear time and solid objects. But in a simulation, where the entire history of an event might be calculated all at once only when requested, it is perfectly logical. The system simply provides a history that is consistent with the final observation. And what about the very information that makes up you and your world? There is a mind-bending concept in physics called the holographic principle. It emerged from the study of black holes, and it suggests something incredible. It suggests that all the information contained within a certain volume of space, say, the room you are in right now, can be fully described by the information encoded on the two-dimensional surface that encloses it. It's as if the three-dimensional reality you experience is a projection, a hologram, whose code, is written on a distant, flat boundary surface. Think of a security chip on a credit card. It's a flat, two-dimensional surface, but when light hits it just right, it projects a full, three-dimensional image of a bird or a globe. The holographic principle suggests that our entire universe might be like that. The 3D world we see, feel, and move through could be a holographic projection of information stored on a two-dimensional surface at the edge of the cosmos. This is a radical, speculative idea, but it is one that serious physicists are exploring because the mathematics points in this direction. And if it's true, it means that our reality is, at its most fundamental level, not made of matter or energy, but of information.
Pure data.
Just like the information that creates a virtual world in a computer. The idea that we are living in a simulation would not just be a philosophical argument, it would be a literal description of the universe's structure.
We are not like a hologram. We are a hologram.
We are characters in a story written on the boundary of space and time. These ideas, the pixelated nature of reality, the observer effect as on-demand rendering, and the holographic principle as a universal hard drive are deep and challenging. But you don't need to grasp the physics in detail. Just feel the poetry of the concept. That the solidity of the world is an illusion. That beneath the smooth surface of your perception, reality is a shimmering, computational thing. It is a dance of bits, a rendering of information, a story being told by a hidden projector. Your very atoms are just packets of data, and your simple act of looking at the world is what calls it into being one pixel at a time. Section 6. The purpose of an ancestor simulation. We have journeyed through the logic of the simulation argument. We have explored the nature of a simulated self, and we have peered into the pixelated, computational fabric of the universe itself. The question of how a simulation might work is a fascinating one. But it naturally leads to a deeper, more personal question. Why? If we're living in a simulation, who created it, and for what purpose? Are we an experiment in a cosmic petri dish? A piece of art in a celestial gallery? A game being played by beings we cannot comprehend? The possibilities are endless, and some are rather chilling. We could be the product of a bored teenager in a higher reality, running a simulation on their futuristic laptop, to be deleted when they grow tired of it. But Nick Bostrom, the philosopher who formulated the modern argument, focused on one particularly plausible and compelling reason: the ancestor simulation. The idea is that the creators of our world are not strange, unknowable aliens. They are our own descendants. They are a future, post-human version of humanity. Let's allow our minds to drift forward in time, far into the future. Imagine a humanity that has survived all the great filters. We have overcome war, disease, and our own self-destructive tendencies. We have mastered technologies that seem like magic to us now, harnessing the energy of stars, building planet-sized computers, mapping the very source code of consciousness. This civilization is mature, powerful, and perhaps a little nostalgic. They live in a world we can barely imagine, their minds and bodies likely augmented and transformed beyond recognition. But they know where they came from. They have historical records, of a sort, about their primitive ancestors from the distant past, the late 20th and early 21st centuries. They know this was a pivotal, chaotic, and fascinating time. A time when their species first grappled with global connectivity, artificial intelligence, and the potential for both utopia and self-destruction. A time of great art, great conflict, great love, and great suffering. For them, studying us would be of immense interest.
Why?
For the same reasons we study our own past. Consider the historian of the future. She can read all the data from our time, every book, every film, every social media post that was ever digitized. She has the what. But she doesn't have the why.
She doesn't know what it felt like.
What did it feel like to fall in love before consciousness could be directly linked? What was the subjective experience of listening to a particular piece of music for the first time? What was the texture of anxiety in an age of nuclear proliferation and ecological collapse? These are questions that data alone cannot answer. So, to truly understand their origins, they decide to build a simulation. A high-fidelity, bottom-up simulation of their ancestral past. They don't just program a few major characters and events. That would be a cheap imitation. To get it right, to capture the emergent complexity and the raw, unpredictable nature of the era, they must simulate the entire thing from the ground up. They input the fundamental laws of physics into their vast computer. They set the initial conditions of the universe to match what their cosmology tells them about our universe's beginning. And then they press run. They watch as, over billions of simulated years, galaxies form, a sun ignites, a planet cools, and life emerges from the primordial soup. They see evolution unfold, leading eventually to the rise of Homo sapiens. They watch as human history plays out, with all its messiness, its beauty, and its horror. They fast forward through the millennia until they reach the period they are interested in, ours. From their perspective, our entire universe is a research project. Your life, my life, the life of every person who has ever lived is a data point in their grand historical inquiry. Your moments of profoundest joy and deepest sorrow are providing them with an unparalleled insight into the subjective experience of their ancestors. This might sound cold and clinical, but let's look at it from another angle. Think of it not just as science, but as art. Imagine a future artist who wants to create the most immersive historical drama ever conceived. She doesn't write a script. She creates a world. She populates it with billions of conscious, autonomous agents and watches the unscripted drama unfold. The tragedies are more poignant, and the triumphs more exhilarating, precisely because they are not predetermined. We are the actors in the greatest improvisational theater piece ever created. Our lives are the art. Or consider it from a legal or ethical perspective. Perhaps in the future, they wish to pass judgment on the past. To understand the crimes or the triumphs of our era, they need to understand the context. By simulating us, they can put themselves in our shoes on a scale we can't imagine. They can explore counterfactuals. What if this decision had been made differently? What if this person had acted with more courage? They are not just studying history. They are exploring the moral landscape of their own origins. What's so compelling about the ancestor simulation hypothesis is its explanatory power. It gives a motive that is deeply human, the desire to understand oneself by understanding where one comes from. It also explains why the simulation would be so perfect, so detailed. If you are simulating your own past, you would have an incentive to get it exactly right. You would want the physics to match, the history to unfold with high fidelity. You wouldn't want the seams of the simulation to show, because that would contaminate the data and ruin the authenticity of the experience. The reason our reality feels so flawlessly real is that its creators are meticulous historians and artists. It also gives us a strange and intimate connection to our potential creators. They are not alien beings with unknowable minds. They are us, in the future. They carry our genetic and cultural legacy. Perhaps they look back on us with a mixture of pity, fascination, and even a kind of familial affection. We are their chaotic, emotional, fragile great-great-great-grandparents. They might watch our lives unfold with the kind of profound empathy, understanding our struggles in a way we cannot even understand them ourselves. This idea places you in a remarkable position. Your life is not a random accident in a meaningless universe. It has a purpose, even if that purpose is to be observed. Every choice you make, every kindness you show, every piece of art you create, every moment of connection you feel, it's all part of a rich tapestry being studied, or perhaps admired, by your own descendants. This doesn't mean you should try to signal to the simulators. The very premise of a high-fidelity ancestor simulation requires that the subjects are unaware they are being simulated. Your most authentic actions, your most genuine feelings, are the most valuable data. To live as if you are being watched would be to corrupt the experiment. The most profound way to honor your potential creators is to live your life as authentically and meaningfully as possible, to play your part in this grand, unscripted drama with as much grace and courage as you can muster. Your ordinary, beautiful, difficult life could be an invaluable piece of a story far grander than you ever imagined. Section 7. Searching for glitches in the code. If our world is a vast, sophisticated piece of software, then like any piece of software, it might not be perfect. No matter how elegant the code, how powerful the computer it runs on, complex systems can sometimes produce unexpected behaviors. Bugs can appear. The system can lag. Errors can creep in. We have come to call these potential errors glitches in the matrix, a phrase borrowed from our modern mythology. These are the small, strange moments in life that just don't feel right. The moments that make you pause and think, did that really just happen? They are the cracks in the otherwise seamless facade of reality, the whispers that hint at the machinery whirring just beneath the surface. Let us now go on a gentle, playful search for these potential glitches. We are not looking for definitive proof, but for curiosities, for the little narrative inconsistencies that might suggest our story is being written by an imperfect author. Perhaps the most common and relatable of these glitches is the feeling of déjà vu. It's that uncanny, fleeting sensation that you have lived this exact moment before. It's not just a memory of a similar situation. It is a powerful, overwhelming conviction that this precise sequence of events, the light filtering through the window, the words someone is saying, the thought in your own mind has happened already. The feeling arrives like a wave and recedes just as quickly, leaving you with a lingering sense of unease and wonder. Science has its explanations for déjà vu, of course. They speak of a momentary misfiring in the brain, a slight delay between the brain's processing centers, where the short-term memory of an event is accidentally filed into long-term memory a split second before your conscious mind registers it. This creates the illusion of recollection. It's a neurological hiccup. But in the context of a simulation, another explanation presents itself. What if déjà vu is a momentary system lag? Imagine the simulation is running, and for a fraction of a second, a data packet is processed twice. Or perhaps the system has to reboot a tiny subroutine, and in doing so, it has to reload a previous state for a microsecond. You, the user, experience this as a momentary, inexplicable repeat of a scene. The script stutters. The program reruns a line of code. For a fleeting moment, you see the seam in the simulation, a brief flicker in the rendering of time itself. It's not a bug in your brain. It's a bug in the universe's operating system. Let's consider another kind of glitch, strange and improbable coincidences. Sometimes, events align in ways that are so unlikely, so perfectly timed, that they feel meaningful, almost scripted. You think of a friend you haven't spoken to in years, and at that exact moment, your phone rings, and it's them. You are searching for a very specific, obscure piece of information, and you happen to open a random book to the exact page that contains the answer. You lose a precious object, only for it to turn up months later in the most impossible of places. We call this synchronicity. Statistically, in a world of billions of people and trillions of events, wildly improbable things are bound to happen to someone, somewhere, every day. It's just the law of large numbers. But when it happens to you, it can feel different. It can feel like a nudge from the universe, a wink from the storyteller. From a simulation perspective, these could be tiny narrative shortcuts taken by the system. Perhaps the simulation is goal-oriented, to keep the grand historical narrative on track, or to ensure a certain character. You reaches a certain developmental milestone, the system might occasionally need to intervene. It might subtly tweak probabilities to ensure a meeting occurs, or to provide a crucial piece of information. It's not a violation of the laws of physics, just a fudging of the dice in the background. The most efficient way to get your character from point A to point B might be to script a convenient coincidence. To you, it feels like a miracle. To the system, it's just efficient resource management, a way of pruning the infinite tree of possibilities to guide the story along a desired path. Then there are the glitches that are more like graphical errors or asset loading failures. Think of those strange, fleeting moments where you misperceive something in a way that seems impossible. You glance at a clock, and for a split second, the hands are frozen or moving backward. You look away and look back, and it's normal again. You see a person walk behind a pillar, but they never emerge from the other side, even though there's nowhere else for them to have gone. You hear a clear, distinct sound of voice, a footstep in a completely empty room. These are often dismissed as tricks of the eye, misinterpretations by a tired brain, or auditory hallucinations. And they very well may be. But they could also be seen as rendering errors. The simulation failed to load an asset correctly. A character model was despawned from the environment incorrectly. An audio file was played at the wrong time. In a vast, complex program, these minor rendering bugs are almost inevitable. Most of the time, the system corrects them so quickly you don't even notice. But every now and then, you might catch one, a momentary visual or auditory artifact that doesn't belong. Let's not forget about our memories, the personal log files of our lives. Our memories are notoriously unreliable and malleable. But sometimes, people experience something more profound, a shared memory of an event or a detail that never actually happened. This is called the Mandela effect. It was named after the widespread, mistaken memory that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s. Thousands of people distinctly remember seeing news reports of his funeral on TV. But he was released from prison in 1990 and lived until 2013. There are many other examples. People who remember a movie about a genie starring an actor named Sinbad that was never made. People who remember the popular children's book series as the Berenstain Bears, with an E, when the title has always been Berenstain Bears, with an A. The conventional explanation is confabulation, a collective misremembering, reinforced by social suggestion and the fallibility of human memory. But what if it's a sign of a software patch? What if the simulators, our post-human historians, decided to change a minor detail in the past? Perhaps they found a small error in their historical records and went back to correct it, overriding a small piece of the simulation's code. The name was Berenstain, not Berenstein. Let's patch that. The change is implemented and the reality is altered. But for some minds, the old data, the old memory lingers in a kind of digital cache. You are left with a residual memory of a timeline that no longer exists. You are remembering a previous version of the software. This search for glitches is, of course, a speculative game. Any one of these phenomena can be explained away by more conventional means. But when you look at them all together, they paint a curious picture. The déjà vu lag, the convenient coincidences, the rendering errors, the patched memories, they start to look less like individual anomalies and more like a consistent pattern of behavior, the kind of quirks you might expect from a reality that is being computed. It invites you to approach your own life with a new kind of attention. When something strange and inexplicable happens, you don't have to be frightened or dismiss it. You can simply notice it with a gentle, curious smile. Perhaps you just witnessed a tiny tear in the fabric of the program, a brief, fleeting glimpse behind the curtain at the beautiful, complex, and perhaps imperfect code that weaves the dream of your world. Section 8. The walls of our simulated world. Every game, no matter how vast and open world it may seem, has its limits. Every program has boundaries. If you are a character inside a game, you might feel as though you can go anywhere and do anything. But if you travel far enough in one direction, you will eventually hit a wall. It might be a literal mountain range you cannot cross, or an invisible barrier that simply stops your forward motion with a gentle chime. Or perhaps the world just ends, dissolving into an unrendered void. These are the walls of the game's map, the hard limits of the programmed world. If our universe is a simulation, does it also have walls? Are there fundamental boundaries to our reality that we might one day encounter? We cannot travel to the edge of the universe to look for an invisible wall. But the limits of our simulation might not be spatial. They might be built into the very laws and structure of our cosmos, subtle but absolute boundaries to our knowledge and our reach. Let us first consider the grandest wall of all, the cosmic horizon. Our universe is expanding. And not only is it expanding, but the expansion is accelerating. Galaxies far away from us are not just moving away, they are speeding up. There is a point, a cosmological horizon, beyond which galaxies are receding from us faster than the speed of light. Think about what this means. Since nothing, not even information, can travel faster than light, the light from those distant galaxies can never reach us. And our light can never reach them. They have been carried away from us by the expansion of space-time itself, like a message in a bottle swept away by a current that is faster than any ship can sail. There is a vast portion of the universe that is, and forever will be, completely inaccessible and unknowable to us. We are enclosed within a bubble of the observable universe. From a purely physical perspective, this is a natural consequence of cosmic expansion and dark energy. But from a simulation perspective, it is a brilliant and elegant piece of design. It is the ultimate invisible wall. The programmers have created a universe so vast that it feels infinite, yet they have placed a hard, unbreakable limit on how much of it we can ever explore or see. Why would they do this? Again, it comes down to resource management. Why simulate an infinite universe in full detail if the inhabitants can only ever access a finite portion of it? It's computationally wasteful. By making the universe expand in this way, the system ensures that we are permanently confined to our local neighborhood. The rest of the universe, beyond the horizon, might not even be simulated in detail. It could be a low-resolution backdrop, a kind of procedural-generated placeholder, saving an immense amount of computational power. The cosmic horizon is the most beautiful and majestic boundary wall imaginable, one built from the very fabric of space-time. Now let's look at a different kind of wall. One not of distance, but of knowledge. This is the wall we find at the very beginning of time. Our best scientific theory, the Big Bang, describes the universe as originating from an incredibly hot, dense state about 13.8 billion years ago. We can trace the story of the cosmos back to a fraction of a second after this initial moment. We can understand the formation of the first atoms, the ignition of the first stars. But when we try to push back to time zero itself, our laws of physics break down. The Big Bang Theory does not describe what happened at the moment of creation or what came before it. At that point, known as a singularity, quantities like density and temperature become infinite. Our equations produce nonsense. It is a fundamental wall in our understanding of time. Science can take us to the doorstep of creation, but it cannot open the door. In a simulated universe, this makes perfect sense. What lies before the Big Bang? Nothing, because that is when the program was started. Time zero is when the great architect finished setting the parameters and pressed run. Asking what came before is like asking a video game character what happened in their world before the game was booted up. The question is meaningless from within their frame of reference. The singularity is not a mystery of physics. It is the simulation's loading screen. It is the point where the world was initiated, the ultimate boundary to our historical knowledge. There are also walls in the very small. We have talked about the Planck length, the potential pixel of space. This represents a fundamental limit to resolution. We can't see anything smaller because space and time as we know them may not exist at that scale. This is another boundary. We can probe the world down to the quantum level, but we can't look underneath the pixels to see how the simulation is running. The code itself is hidden from us. The programmers have made their creation read-only. We can experience the output of the program, but we cannot access the source code. And finally, there is a more subtle, but perhaps more profound, wall. The wall of computational complexity. There are certain problems that are thought to be so complex that even a computer the size of the universe, running for the entire age of the universe, could not solve them. They are computationally intractable. One of these problems might be consciousness itself. We can study the brain, map its neurons, and observe its activity. But the problem of how the objective firing of neurons creates the subjective, qualitative experience of being you, the redness of red, the sweetness of sugary, is what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. It is possible that this problem is fundamentally unsolvable from within the system. Perhaps our simulated minds are simply not complex enough to comprehend their own nature. A calculator can perform calculations, but it cannot understand the principles of mathematics. A character in a novel can have rich inner thoughts, but it cannot comprehend the concept of literature or the author who wrote it. In the same way, we might be enclosed within a cognitive wall. The programmers may have designed us in such a way that we can be intelligent, creative, and self-aware, but we are constitutionally incapable of understanding the true nature of that awareness. It is the ultimate lock on the door, a limit placed not on the external world, but on our own minds. These walls the cosmic horizon, the singularity of the Big Bang, the pixelation of space, and the limits of our own cognition are not failures of science. They are deep and fundamental features of our universe. But when viewed through the lens of the simulation hypothesis, they no longer look like frustrating limits. They look like design features. They are the elegant, subtle, and unbreakable boundaries of our simulated world, the walls of our cosmic playground, placed there by a programmer who gave us a universe vast enough to feel infinite, but finite enough to be computed. Section 9. The Endless Nesting Dolls of Reality. We have journeyed far on this quiet exploration. We have considered that our world might be a program, our minds a form of code, and our universe bounded by the elegant walls of a cosmic computer. We have even given our potential creators a familiar face, our own human descendants, studying their past. It is a neat, contained, and fascinating picture. But now, we must be brave enough to ask one last, vertigo-inducing question. If our post-human descendants were Ableto, create a simulation as real as our world. Who is to say that their world is the real one? Let your mind float on this dizzying possibility. Settle into the strange logic of it. We have established that a technologically mature civilization would likely have the interest and the capacity to run countless ancestor simulations. We concluded that because of this, the number of simulated minds would vastly outnumber the real minds in the original base reality. And therefore, we are most likely one of those simulated minds. But now we must apply this same logic to our creators. Imagine our post-human creators living in their hyper-advanced world. They too look at their universe, their laws of physics, their own consciousness. They too might develop their own version of the simulation argument. They would reason, just as we have, that if it's possible to simulate a universe, then many simulations will be created. They would count the number of potential simulated beings versus the number of real beings. And they, too, would be forced to conclude that they are almost certainly living inside a simulation. Their reality, which to them feels as fundamental and solid as ours does to us, would also likely be a program created by an even more advanced civilization in an even higher level of reality. And what about their creators? The same logic applies. They, too, would be just another link in an unimaginably long chain. This is the concept of nested simulations. It is the idea that our reality is like a set of Russian nesting dolls or matryoshka dolls. You open the outermost doll, and inside you find another, slightly smaller doll. You open that one, and there is another inside, and another, and another. Our universe could be a simulation running inside a simulation, which itself is running inside another simulation, in a chain that could be extraordinarily long, perhaps even infinite. This thought can make the mind reel. It's like standing between two mirrors and seeing your reflection repeated into infinity. Where does it end? Where is base reality? Is there even such a thing? Perhaps there is a final, fundamental, non-simulated reality at the top of the chain. This is the prime universe, the one that is not computed. But if our own logic is correct, the vast majority of all universes and all conscious minds would exist in the simulations below it. If you were to pick a universe at random from the cosmic grab bag, your chances of picking the one, true base reality would be infinitesimally small. You would almost certainly be somewhere down in the stack. But what if there is no top? What if the chain goes on forever? An infinite regress of realities, each one a program running on the hardware of the level above it. This is a concept that challenges our very notions of cause and effect, of origin and existence. It suggests that reality might be a bottomless rabbit hole, a dream within a dream within a dream, with no final dreamer to be found. This idea changes our relationship with our potential creators. In the simple ancestor simulation model, they are like gods to us, existing in the true, physical world. But in the nested simulation model, they are not gods. They are just the middle management. They are prisoners in their own cave, just one level up from us. They may be our creators, but they are also a creation. They share our predicament, even if their prison is larger and more sophisticated than ours. This might even explain some of the glitches or limitations of our own world. Perhaps the computer running our simulation has its own constraints because it is, itself, running on a limited platform in the level above. The processing power available to our creators might be rationed by their creators. Perhaps a glitch in our matrix is actually a system lag in the matrix one level up, an error that cascades down through the layers of simulation. The fine-tuning of our universe's laws might not have been a deliberate choice by our immediate creators. Perhaps they had no choice. Perhaps they had to use the same basic physics engine that their own universe runs on. The laws of our reality might be inherited, passed down through the chain of simulations like a family heirloom. This concept of nested realities can feel overwhelming, like it dissolves all certainty. If our reality is not real, and our creator's reality is not real, then what is? But let's look at it from a place of quiet wonder rather than existential dread. It suggests a kind of universal kinship. Every being, in every layer of reality, shares the same fundamental condition. We are all information. We are all patterns running on a substrate we cannot perceive. The post-human who designed our world and the strange, unknowable entity who designed theirs are both, in a sense, our brothers in simulation. We are all characters in a library of stories, stacked one on top of the other. It also introduces a profound and beautiful humility. Our quest to understand the ultimate nature of reality might be fundamentally doomed, not because we lack intelligence, but because we are trapped in a single story on a single page, in a single book in an infinite library. We can study our page with meticulous care. We can even guess at the nature of the book it's in, but we can never read the entire library. The idea of nested simulations takes the initial argument and pushes it to its most extreme and poetic conclusion. It suggests that the fabric of existence is not a single, solid thing, but a shimmering, layered, and deeply mysterious hierarchy. You are not just a character in a story. You are a character in a story that is being read by another character, in a story that is being read by another. And so on forever. Your quiet, personal experience of consciousness, right here, right now, is one small flicker of light in an endless, echoing hall of mirrors. Section 10. How to live within the dream. And so, we arrive at the end of our long, quiet journey together. We have drifted on the gentle current of a question, from the firelit shadows of Plato's cave to the logical forks in a philosopher's argument. We have peered into the machinery of the cosmos, seeing the rules of a game, the pixels of reality, the glitches in the code. We have imagined our creators as our own distant children, and we have even dared to imagine that they, too, are dreaming in a dream. The idea has unfolded around us, a vast and intricate origami, until the very ground beneath our feet feels less like solid rock and more like a beautiful, shimmering piece of paper. After all this, after floating through these vast and dizzying possibilities, we must land. We must return to the simple, undeniable fact of your own presence, here and now, in the quiet of this moment. And we must face the ultimate question that this entire journey inspires. So what? If this is all a simulation, what does that change? Does it matter? Does it mean that your life is a lie? That your love is not real? That your pain is meaningless? This is the heart of it, isn't it? The fear that if the world is not real, then nothing we do or feel has any weight. Let us hold that fear gently and look at it with curiosity, not alarm. Think of the most beautiful piece of music you have ever heard, a melody that seemed to understand the shape of your soul. Now, does the beauty of that music change whether it is played by a living orchestra on wooden instruments or streamed through a pair of headphones as a sequence of digital ones and zeros? The experience of the beauty, the chills it sends down your spine, the memories it evokes, that is what is real. The substrate, whether it is vibrating strings or processed data, is secondary. The music is the music. Your life is like that music. The simulation hypothesis does not propose that your experiences are fake. It proposes that the substrate on which they are running is computational. Your joy is not a fake joy. It is a real and valid pattern of information, a beautiful resonance in the code of your consciousness. The love you feel for another person is not a cheap imitation of love. It is a profound and complex interplay between your program and theirs, a bond that is as meaningful within this reality as any bond could ever be. Your suffering is not an illusion. It is a harsh, discordant note, but it is a real note, a real experience that shapes the composition of your being. The simulation does not devalue your life, it reframes it. The universe we perceive is our user interface. It is a masterfully designed system that allows us to interact with the underlying code. The warmth of the sun on your skin, the taste of fresh water, the comfort of a hug, these are not lies. They are the tactile feedback of the system. They are the way the simulation renders the concept of love or comfort or life into a language your consciousness can understand. To call it unreal is to miss the point. This reality is our reality. Its rules are our rules. Its truth is our truth. So, how do we live within this potential dream? We do not live in fear of the programmer switching off the machine. We do not spend our days searching for the exit door. Instead, the possibility of simulation can be an invitation to live with more grace, more purpose, and more wonder. If we are living in an ancestor simulation created by our descendants to understand us, then your life has an inherent and beautiful purpose. You are a living historical document.
You are a window for the future into the past.
Every small act of kindness you perform, every moment of empathy you show, every time you choose courage over fear, you are not just living your life, you are contributing to a record. You are showing your descendants what it meant to be human in this fragile, beautiful, chaotic time. You are teaching them. Your life is not an accident. It is a lesson. What a profound responsibility. What a beautiful role to play. If you view the world as a work of art, a grand, unscripted play, then you are one of its lead actors. You have been given this incredible gift of a conscious perspective. How do you want to play your part? Do you want to be a character who is defined by fear and anger, or one who is defined by curiosity, creativity, and love? The simulation hypothesis doesn't force your hand, but it does highlight the stage. It reminds you that your story is being witnessed, and it inspires you to make it a good one. And perhaps most beautifully, it can free you. It can free you from the crushing weight of believing that this one single reality is the only thing that is, or ever will be. It can instill a sense of cosmic playfulness. When you look up at the moon, you can see not just a rock in space, but a beautifully rendered sphere of pixels, hung in the sky by a master artist. When you witness a strange coincidence, you can smile with the secret knowledge that it might be a little nudge from the storyteller. It invites you to pay closer attention to the details of your user interface, to truly savor the taste of your food, to marvel at the intricate patterns of a leaf, to feel the precise sensation of rain on your skin. These are not just random physical phenomena. They are the details, the textures, the high-fidelity graphics of your world. To appreciate them is to appreciate the artistry of the program. The simulation argument does not need to be a source of dread. It can be a tool for re-enchantment. It can turn a mundane world into a magical one, where every atom is a miracle of computation and every moment is a precious piece of a story that stretches beyond your comprehension. It tells you that whether this is base reality or a dream in the mind of a godlike computer, the right way to live is the same. Be kind. Be curious. Pay attention. Create beauty. Connect with other souls in the program. Love with all your heart. Because in the end, the quality of the experience is all that truly matters. The music is what matters, not the instrument it is played on. Your life, in all its fleeting, fragile, and breathtaking glory, is the music. And it is beautiful. And now, the journey is over. The grand cosmic questions can be set aside, left to float gently in the quiet darkness. There is no need to solve them, no need to hold on to their dizzying weight. Let them dissolve like sugar in water, leaving only a faint sweetness of wonder. Your only task now is to rest, to let your mind become as calm and empty as a still forest pool. Feel your body growing heavy and soft, sinking into the support beneath you. Let your breath be your anchor, a slow, gentle tide pulling you out into the peaceful ocean of sleep. The story is done. The day is done. May your own dreams be a gentle simulation, a world of peace and softness. May you find comfort in the deep, quiet mystery of it all.
Sleep well. Good night.
Welcome to the peaceful space of sleep-friendly science, where tonight we'll drift along the river of time and softly ask if it's steady. Forward current is nothing more than a beautiful illusion. Let's explore the strange and beautiful idea that time may not flow like a river, but exist all at once. Imagine your past, present, and future as a single, complete landscape, already painted. There is no need for deep thought, only gentle curiosity as we wander through this mystery together. Now, settle in, take a deep breath, and let the soft sounds guide you as we begin tonight's journey into the unknown. Section 1. The river in your mind. There is a feeling, perhaps the most fundamental feeling you have, that is so deeply woven into the fabric of your being that you barely notice it is there. It is the gentle, steady, and constant sensation of forward movement. It is the feeling of time. Feel it now, in the quiet of this space. Feel the soft, invisible current that carried you from the person you were one moment ago to the person you are right now. This moment, this tiny sliver of now, feels like it is perched on the crest of a wave, perpetually arriving from the future and instantly receding into the past. It feels as though you are on a journey. The most natural way for us to picture this journey is as a river. Imagine you are in a small, sturdy boat, floating down the center of a great, wide river. This is the river of your life. You cannot control the speed of the current it flows on its own, relentless and steady. Your only real awareness is from the boat, this vessel of the present moment. Now turn your head and look back, upstream. The landscape you see there is the past. It is a vast, intricate country that you have already traveled through. Every bend in the river, every tree on the bank, every cloud that passed overhead it is all there. The details are sharp and clear, at least in the stretches you just passed. The farther back you look, the hazier the landscape becomes, softened by the mists of memory. But the key feature of this land of the past is that it is fixed. It is solid. It is carved in stone. You can look at it, you can remember it, you can study it from your boat, but you can never go back and change it. You cannot steer your boat upstream against the powerful current. You cannot dock on its shores and rearrange a single stone. The conversations you had are echoes frozen in the air. The choices you made are paths now permanently etched into the terrain. The people you knew are like statues in a quiet garden, forever captured in the moments you last saw them. This land is the kingdom of what was. It is immutable, finished, and silent. It is the source of your memories, your lessons, and sometimes your regrets. It is the solid ground of your identity. Now turn your gaze forward, downstream. Look ahead into the future. What do you see? You see a thick, white fog. The river flows directly into this impenetrable mist. You cannot see the landscape that awaits you. You cannot see the bends in the river, the mountains or valleys that lie just beyond your sight. The future is a realm of pure potential. It is an unwritten page, a blank canvas. As you float closer, you might hear faint sounds from within the fog, whispers of possibility, echoes of events that have not yet happened. You might see vague shapes forming and dissolving in the mist, representing all the different paths your life could take. Will the river branch to the left or to the right? Will it enter a calm lake or a series of rapids? You do not know. This uncertainty, this openness, is the defining quality of the future. It is the kingdom of what might be. It is the source of your hopes, your dreams, and your anxieties. You steer your little boat, making small adjustments to your course, with the belief that your choices now will determine which of those branching paths you will eventually travel down. And in between these two vast and different kingdoms, the stone landscape of the past and the misty void of the futurious you. You are in your boat, in a tiny, precious, and incredibly special moment called now. The now is the only place where anything truly happens. It is the magical, moving border where the potential of the future crystallizes into the solid fact of the past. It is like the nib of a great cosmic pen, and as it moves forward, it leaves a permanent ink line of reality behind it. It is the cutting edge of creation. In this moment of now, you are experiencing, you are feeling, you are choosing. The light is real, the air is real, your breath is real. The now has a vividness, a vitality, that both the past and the future lack. The past is just a memory, and the future is just an idea. Only the present is truly alive. This picture of time, the fixed past, the open future, and the special, moving present is called presentism. It feels so obviously true that to even give it a name seems strange. It is baked into the very language we use. We say the future is coming, and the past has gone. We talk about the flow of time or the passage of time. Our entire psychological makeup is built around this model. Hope is the belief in a better future. Regret is the sorrow over a past that cannot be changed. Mindfulness is the practice of living fully in the now. This river in your mind dictates the rhythm of your life. It gives your story a narrative structure, a beginning, a middle, and an end. It gives you a sense of agency, a belief that you are the captain of your boat, navigating the unwritten waters ahead. It is the most powerful and persistent story we tell ourselves about the nature of reality. It feels solid, comforting, and true. But what if it isn't? What if this powerful, intuitive feeling of time's flow is a magnificent and deeply convincing illusion, a story told to us by our own minds? What if the greatest physicist of the modern age stumbled upon something extraordinary in his equations, a hint that this entire picture is wrong, that the river isn't flowing at all? What if he discovered that the distinction between past, present, and future is not a fundamental feature of the universe, but a peculiar feature of our human perspective? That there is no universal now acting as the cutting edge of reality? This is a quiet, radical thought. It does not challenge your personal experience. The feeling of flow is real for you, but it asks whether that feeling corresponds to the way the universe actually is. It invites us to consider, just for a moment, that the stone landscape of the past, the misty void of the future, and our tiny boat of the present might all be parts of a single, unified, and unchanging whole. That the river is not a river at all, but a vast, frozen lake, and it is our own consciousness that is walking across its surface, creating the illusion of a journey. Let's not rush ahead. For now, let us just hold this first, gentle seed of doubt. Let us honor the profound feeling of the river of time, while preparing to ask what might lie beyond it. Section 2. A crack in the cosmic clock. In our last moment together, we rested in the comfortable certainty of the river of time. We felt its steady flow, carrying us from a solid past toward an open future, all of it centered on the vibrant, special moment of now. We imagined this now as a universal truth, a great, invisible bell tolling the present moment for everyone, everywhere, all at once. We assumed that if we could somehow pause the universe, we would find everything existing in a single, shared slice of time. An alien in a distant galaxy, a lonely comet in the void, and you, resting here all sharing the same cosmic now. It is a comforting thought, a steady metronome for the symphony of existence. But at the beginning of the 20th century, a young, imaginative patent clerk in Switzerland began to dream up thought experiments, little stories in his mind that would strike this great cosmic clock and leave a hairline crack in its crystal face. That young man was Albert Einstein, and his ideas about relativity would not just challenge our intuition about time, they would shatter it. There is no need to worry about complex mathematics. Einstein's greatest insights were born not from equations, but from simple, powerful pictures. His revolutionary idea began with a deep contemplation of light. He proposed something that at first sounds simple but is profoundly strange. The speed of light in a vacuum is constant for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're standing still, or racing in a spaceship toward a beam of light, or running away from it. When you measure its speed, you will always get the exact same number. This is unlike anything in our everyday experience. If you're driving on a highway and a car comes toward you, its speed relative to you is the sum of your speed and its speed. If you are driving in the same direction, its relative speed is the difference. We add and subtract speeds all the time. But light refuses to play this game. Light is stubborn. It is absolute. It is as if the universe has one single, unbreakable rule of speed, and light is its perfect messenger. Holding this one strange fact, the constancy of the speed of light, Einstein began to wonder what it meant for our concept of time. And here, he imagined a little story that we can imagine with him. Picture a very long, very fast train, or better yet, a magnificent spaceship, gliding through the silent dark of space. You are inside this ship, standing in the exact center. At a precise moment, a flash of light is emitted from where you stand. The light travels outwards from the center, toward the front wall of the ship and the back wall of the ship. Since you are in the exact middle, and the speed of light is constant, the light flash will, of course, reach the front wall and the back wall at the very same instant. For you inside the ship, these two events, light strikes the front wall, light strikes the back wall, are simultaneous. They happen in the same moment of now. It's simple, obvious. But now, let us change your perspective. Imagine you are no longer on the ship. You are floating in space, perfectly still, and you are watching the ship streak past you. From your vantage point, you see the same event. A flash of light is emitted from the middle of the moving ship. But now, think carefully about the journey of that light from your perspective. The ship is moving forward. This means the back wall of the ship is moving toward the point where the light was emitted. It is rushing to meet the light pulse that is traveling toward it. The front wall of the ship, however, is speeding away from the point where the light was emitted. The light pulse traveling to the front has to chase after it. Remember Einstein's one unbreakable rule. The speed of light is the same for you as it is for the person on the ship. It does not speed up or slow down. So, from your stationary perspective, the light traveling to the back has a shorter distance to cover, and it will arrive first. The light traveling to the front has a longer distance to cover, as it chases the receding wall, and it will arrive second. Let this sink in gently. For the person on the ship, the two events were simultaneous. They happened at the same time, but for you watching from the outside, they were not. One event happened before the other. So, who is right? Is the person on the ship right, or are you right? Einstein's astonishing answer is that you are both right. Simultaneity, the very idea of two things happening at the same time, is not absolute. It is relative. It depends on your state of motion. This is the crack in the cosmic clock. There is no single, universal now that everyone in the universe agrees on. My now is different from the now of someone moving relative to me. Imagine time is a great loaf of bread. We used to think that the present was a single, straight slice through the loaf, and everyone shared that same slice. Einstein showed that if you are moving, your knife cuts the loaf at a different angle. Your slice of now is a tilted slice. What does this mean? It means your slice, your present moment, can include events that, for someone else, are already in their past. And it can also include events that are still in their future. Let's make this cosmic. Imagine an alien in a galaxy far, far away, on a planet that is moving very rapidly either toward or away from us. Because of their motion relative to you, their slice of now could be tilted by a huge amount. Their present moment there now could correspond to what we on Earth consider the year 1800. Or it could correspond to the year 2500. All three moments your now, the Earth of 1800 and the Earth of 2500, could exist simultaneously in different, tilted planes of the present. The idea of a universal now dissolves. The powerful, flowing river of time, with its single, advancing wave of the present, is an illusion of our particular perspective. It's a local phenomenon, not a cosmic one. The universe does not seem to have a master clock or a single, special moment of now. This realization is the first, and perhaps most difficult, step toward a completely new picture of reality. If the past, present, and future are not cleanly separated, if my now can be your past and another's future, then what does that imply about the nature of time itself? It suggests that perhaps the distinction is not as real as it feels. It suggests that all these moments, past, present, and future, might be equally real, coexisting in a way we can't perceive. Einstein's work did not give us the final answer, but it broke the old story. It took the familiar, flowing river of our minds and revealed that it was not a feature of the grand cosmic ocean. The universe, it seems, has a much stranger and more wonderful structure, one in which the concepts of gone and not yet may have no ultimate meaning. Section 3. The landscape of spacetime. The ground beneath our feet feels a little less certain now, doesn't it? We have just watched the great cosmic clock crack, and with it, the comforting idea of a single, universal now has evaporated into a mist of relativity. If my now is not your now, if the present moment is a personal, shifting thing, then the image of a great river flowing for everyone, everywhere, simply cannot hold. The river has dissolved. But what is left in its place? When a river dries up, it reveals the landscape it has been carving for eons. And this is precisely what Einstein's revolution did for us. It took away the flowing water of time and revealed the magnificent, unified landscape that had been lying beneath it all along. He called this landscape spacetime. This was perhaps his greatest act of union, a marriage of two concepts we had always thought of as separate and distinct. Space, we felt, was the stage. It was the vast, three-dimensional container where things existed. Time, we felt, was the story. It was the one-dimensional flow of events that happened on that stage. There was the where and there was the when. But Einstein, with his gentle logic, showed us that you cannot have one without the other. They are not a stage and a story. They are two inseparable threads woven into a single, four-dimensional tapestry. Think about it in the simplest way. If you want to meet a friend, you cannot just tell them a place. Meet me at the old oak tree. This is not enough information. They would rightly ask, when? You also cannot just tell them a time. Let's meet at noon. They would ask, where? To define any event in the universe, you need both. You need three coordinates in space like latitude, longitude, and altitude, and one coordinate in time. Where and when. The two are forever linked. This fused, four-dimensional reality is space-time. It can be difficult to picture a four-dimensional object as our minds are built for a three-dimensional world. But we can use an analogy. Imagine you are a being who lives on a perfectly flat, two-dimensional sheet of paper. You can move left and right, forward and backward, but you have no concept of up. Now, imagine a three-dimensional object, like an apple, passing through your flat world. You would not see the whole apple at once. You would see a series of two-dimensional slices. First, a tiny point would appear out of nowhere. Then it would become a small circle, which would grow larger and larger, then smaller again. And then, just as mysteriously, it would vanish. For you, this would be a baffling event, unfolding over time. But from a higher, three-dimensional perspective, one could see the entire apple, existing all at once, and understand that your experience was just a cross-section of a larger, unchanging reality. Now, apply this to yourself. We are three-dimensional beings. So, what if our entire universe, as we experience it unfolding in time, is just a slice of a higher, four-dimensional reality? This is the birth of a new and profound image of the universe. It is often called the block universe. Imagine space-time as a single, immense, four-dimensional block of crystal. This block does not change. It does not evolve. It does not happen. It simply is. And what is contained within this block? Everything. Every event that has ever occurred or ever will occur for you is frozen within this block, like a fossil in amber. The moment of your birth is a location in the block. The moment you learned to ride a bicycle is another location. This very moment, as you listen to these words, is a specific coordinate in the great crystal of space-time. And the moment of your last breath, the last beat of your heart, is also already there, a quiet, fixed point somewhere further along the time axis. The life of a star, from its fiery birth to its quiet death, is a long, luminous thread woven through the block. The entire history of the Earth is a complex, swirling pattern embedded within it. The dinosaurs are not gone. They are just in a different region of space-time. Your own future is not an unwritten fog. It is a landscape that is already there, existing with the same reality as your past. You just haven't arrived there yet. Let's go back to our loaf of bread. The block universe is the entire loaf, sitting there on the cosmic counter, fully baked. Your consciousness, at this moment, is experiencing one particular slice of that loaf. The slice feels special and unique because you are in it. But the slice next to it, from a moment ago, is just as real. And the slice a little further down the loaf, which you will experience tomorrow, is also just as real. They all coexist. Einstein's relativity of simultaneity simply means that a person moving relative to you is slicing the same loaf, but at a slightly different angle. Their slice of now is different from yours, but it's a slice of the same, single, unchanging loaf. We can also think of the universe as a great novel, already written from the first page to the last. You are currently reading a page in the middle of the book. The story on this page feels vivid and immediate, but the pages you have already read the past are still part of the book. The pages you have yet to read the future are also already written, waiting for you. The entire story exists, complete and whole. The illusion of flow is simply the act of your consciousness turning the pages. The story itself does not flow. It just is. This is a breathtaking and perhaps unsettling transformation of our worldview. It takes the dynamic, flowing river of our intuition and replaces it with a static, eternal landscape. A crystal palace of space-time in which all of history and all of the future exist in a timeless, frozen splendor. It suggests that the distinction we make between past, present, and future is not a feature of the physical world, but a feature of our perception of it. But this raises the most important question of all. If we are living in a static, frozen block of space-time, if the future is already there, then why does it feel so powerfully like it is flowing? Why do we feel the relentless forward push of the river? If the film of our life is already in the canister, complete from the first frame to the last, why do we experience it as a movie, unfolding one frame at a time? Answering this question is the next step on our journey. We must now look for the source of this illusion, for the mechanism that creates the powerful sense of an arrow of time, even in a universe that may not have one. Section 4. The arrow in the frozen river. We find ourselves standing on the shore of a new and strange reality. The comforting river of time has given way to a vast, static, four-dimensional landscape, the block universe. It is a crystal palace containing all of space-time, every moment that ever was and ever will be, frozen in an eternal, unchanging state. And yet, this idea presents us with a profound paradox. If the universe is a static block, why does our experience of it feel so dynamic? If the past, present, and future all exist with equal reality, why do we feel ourselves being relentlessly pushed from one to the other? Why does the river feel like it's flowing in only one direction, from yesterday to tomorrow? If the landscape is frozen, where does the powerful sense of an arrow of time come from? The secret, the whisper of an answer, does not lie in the flow of time, but in a deep and fundamental law of the universe itself. It is a law not about movement, but about order. It is called the second law of thermodynamics, and at its heart is a simple, poetic idea: entropy. You do not need to know the science. You already know entropy by heart. It is the reason a hot cup of tea will always cool down, but a cool cup will never spontaneously become hot. It is the reason that a tidy room, left to its own devices, will always tend toward messiness, but a messy room will never tidy itself. It is the reason you can break an egg to make an omelet, but you can never unbreak the omelet to remake the perfect whole egg. Entropy is simply a measure of disorder, or randomness. The second law states that in a closed system, like our universe, the total amount of entropy, a total amount of disorder will always increase over time. The universe is on a one-way journey from a state of order to a state of chaos. It is a great cosmic exhalation that can never be taken back. Let's picture it with a gentle image. Imagine you have a glass of crystal clear water. You take a single, perfect drop of dark ink and gently place it in the water. For a moment, it is a tidy, precious, highly ordered sphere of darkness in a world of light. This is a state of low entropy. But what happens next? The ink begins to spread. It sends out delicate, smoky tendrils, which swirl and dance until eventually, the entire glass of water is a uniform, ghostly, uniform gray. The ink is still there, but it is now perfectly disordered, spread evenly throughout the water. This is a state of high entropy. You have witnessed the arrow of time. You will always see the ink diffuse into the water. You will never, ever, see a glass of gray water spontaneously gather all the ink particles back into a single, perfect drop. The process is irreversible. Now, how does this law of change fit into our static, changeless block universe? This is the beautiful, subtle part. The arrow of time is not a process that happens within the block. It is a feature of the block structure. It is a cosmic gradient, a pattern woven into the very fabric of space-time. Think of the block universe as a mountain range. The Big Bang, the beginning of our universe, is like the highest, sharpest peak. This initial state was one of incredibly low entropy, a state of near-perfect order, all the energy and matter of the universe packed into a tiny, hot, smooth point. As you move along the time dimension of the block, you are, in essence, walking downhill from that peak. The landscape becomes more rugged, more complex, more disordered. Stars form and burn out, scattering heavy elements. Galaxies collide. The universe expands and cools. This is the grand, sprawling, messy, high-entropy landscape of our present era. So when we say that entropy increases with time, we are not describing something flowing. We are describing the geography of the four-dimensional landscape. We are saying that the past is the name we give to the region of space-time with lower entropy, and the future is the name we give to the region with even higher entropy. The arrow of time is built into the very shape of reality. We are living on the slopes of this cosmic mountain. This also explains the nature of our own minds and memories. Your brain is a physical system. To think, to live, to form a memory, it must process energy. It is a warm, humming engine. And like any engine, it operates by taking in ordered energy, like the food you eat, and turning it into disordered waste heat. The very act of forming a memory is an entropy-increasing process. A memory is like a footprint left in the sand, an ordered pattern created at the cost of a greater, overall disorder in the universe. Because of this, your brain can only create memories of the past, that is, of states with lower entropy than your current state. You can have a record of the whole egg, but not of the broken one before it happens. Your memory works in one direction because the universe is structured in one direction. You remember the past and not the future because you are an entropy-generating system, and the past is the only direction on the space-time map where entropy was lower. So, we have found our arrow. It is not a force pushing us forward. It is the underlying grain of the wood, the natural slope of the land. Our sense of time's direction comes from our brains recognizing this fundamental asymmetry in the universe. We are biologically hardwired to perceive the universe's slide from order to disorder as a forward passage. We are like a reader with a book. The book itself is static, but the story within it has a clear progression from chapter 1 to the end. The reader's mind follows that progression because it is the only way the story makes sense. The story of our universe is the story of increasing entropy, and our minds are built to read it in the only direction it is written. We have found the direction of the arrow, but we're still left with one piece of the puzzle. We understand the direction of the path, but we do not yet understand the feeling of walking it. What is it that makes us feel like we are moving along this path, experiencing it one moment at a time? What is the you that seems to be traveling through this frozen landscape? This leads us to the final, intimate mystery, the nature of our own consciousness. Section 5. The spotlight of your consciousness. We have journeyed far. We have seen the river of time dissolve into the static, crystal block of space-time. We have found the arrow of time, not as a flowing current, but as a great, cosmic gradient of order to disorder, woven into the very fabric of this block. We are living on the downhill slope of entropy, and yet, the deepest mystery remains. We have a map, and we have a direction. But what creates the feeling of the journey itself? If the entire landscape of your life from your first breath to your last already exists, complete and unchanging, what is it that makes you feel as if you are traveling through it? What is this moving, luminous point of now that seems to glide along the timeline, illuminating one moment at a time, leaving the rest in the darkness of memory or the mists of anticipation? The answer, if there is one, may lie not in the external world of physics, but in the internal world of the mind. The final piece of this grand puzzle may be consciousness itself. Let us try on a new metaphor. The block universe, this four-dimensional landscape of your life, is like a long, celluloid film strip. Every single frame of your life is there, printed on the film, existing simultaneously. The frame of you as a child learning to walk. The frame of you experiencing your first heartbreak. The frame of you right now, in this quiet moment. And all the frames of your future, already developed and waiting in the sequence. The film itself is static. It does not move. But now, imagine a movie projector. Inside the projector is a powerful, bright lamp. The projector pulls the film strip through its mechanism, and the lamp shines through one single frame at a time, projecting it onto the screen of your awareness. The image on the screen is vivid, present, alive. But then the projector clicks forward, the next frame slides into place, and a new moment is illuminated. The previous frame is now gone from the screen, becoming a memory. The frame after the next is still waiting in the dark, an anticipation. What if your consciousness is this lamp? What if your awareness is the spotlight, and it is moving along the static film strip of your life? In this view, the feeling of the flow of time is an illusion created by the movement of this spotlight of consciousness. The universe itself isn't flowing. Your life isn't happening. It is your awareness that is happening to your life. You are the audience, the witness, moving through the gallery of your own existence, looking at one portrait at a time. This idea, sometimes called the moving spotlight theory, is a beautiful and poetic attempt to reconcile the static universe of physics with the dynamic universe of our experience. It honors both. It says to the physicist, yes, the block universe is real, the timeline is fixed. And it says to the poet in each of us, yes, your experience of a moving, vibrant present is also real. The illusion is not the experience itself, but our interpretation of what that experience means. We mistake the movement of the spotlight for the movement of the world. But what is the spotlight? What is consciousness? This is, of course, the deepest mystery of all. Science does not yet know. But we can imagine it as a complex process, a self-aware pattern generated by the intricate wiring of your brain. As your brain exists at a particular point on the timeline, it generates this property of awareness, and that awareness is, by its nature, focused on its own immediate state. Think of it this way. The physical matter of your brain exists at every moment along your personal timeline, your world line, in the block universe. The brain state at Monday is a particular configuration of atoms. The brain state at Tuesday is a slightly different one. Each of these brain states is like a single, still photograph. But perhaps the phenomenon of consciousness requires a process. Perhaps it is the transition from the Monday brain to the Tuesday brain that generates the subjective feeling of a day passing. Consciousness, in this view, is not a thing but a relationship between infinitesimally close moments in space-time. It is the music that is played when the needle of reality is drawn across the groove of your neural patterns. The groove itself, the record of your brain states, is static, but the experience is a melody that unfolds in time. This model also elegantly explains our sense of self, our feeling of being a continuous person through time. You feel like the same person who went to sleep last night.
Why?
Because the spotlight of your consciousness is moving along a continuous path, your world line. Your awareness at this moment is causally linked to your awareness in the previous moment. The memory of yesterday is encoded in the structure of your brain today. The spotlight carries with it the light of the frames it has just passed. It is a seamless, uninterrupted journey along a continuous, unbroken film strip. So, where are you in this picture? You are both the film and the light. Your physical body, your entire history and future, is the film, a permanent and beautiful pattern etched into space-time. Your consciousness, your subjective experience of being you, is the light that passes over it, bringing the still images to life. This is a profoundly intimate and personal way to look at your place in the cosmos. It suggests that the great mystery of time's flow is inseparable from the great mystery of your own awareness. The universe provides the static script, the eternal landscape. But your conscious, experiencing self provide the motion, the journey, the story. You are the ghost in the eternal machine. You are the traveler in a land where everything has already arrived. And this reframes the nature of your life. It is not a fleeting spark that is born and then vanishes forever. Your existence is a permanent feature of reality. You are not a brief song that is sung and then lost to silence. You are the entire, complete recording, and your life is the experience of playing it back just once with feeling. Section 6. Every moment, an eternal jewel. Let us rest here for a moment. In this strange and beautiful landscape, we have discovered. The universe is a great, four-dimensional crystal, a block universe containing all of time and space. Your life is a luminous thread woven through it, and your consciousness is a moving spotlight, gliding along this thread, illuminating one precious moment at a time, creating the sensation of a journey. At first, this idea can feel cold and deterministic. It can feel like it robs life of its spontaneity, its preciousness. If the future is already written, what is the point? If the past is not truly gone, what does that mean for our sense of moving on? But let us set aside those difficult questions for our next step. For now, let us explore the profound comfort and the breathtaking beauty that this picture of reality can offer. Let us look at the block universe not as a prison, but as a museum, a gallery where every moment is preserved in its perfect, eternal form. In the old model, the river of time, the past was a ghost. It was a kingdom that had vanished, a country to which we could never return. The moments of your life were like soap bubbles, shimmering with beauty for a single, fleeting instant, and then popping, gone forever, existing only as a faint, fading memory. The joy you felt on a perfect summer day, the sound of a loved one's laughter, a moment of profound peace, all of it was ephemeral, lost to the relentless current of the river. This transience is the source of a deep, underlying melancholy in the human experience. We are haunted by the feeling of loss, by the things that time has taken away. But in the block universe, nothing is ever truly lost. Every moment you have ever lived still exists right now, in its proper place in space-time. It is as real and as valid as this present moment. It has not vanished. It has not been destroyed. It is simply in a different location in the four-dimensional landscape. Think of your happiest memory, a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. Perhaps it was as a child, running through a field of wildflowers. Perhaps it was the moment you first held your own child. Perhaps it was a quiet evening with someone you loved, where everything felt right with the world. In the old view, that moment is gone, a fading photograph in your mind. But in the block universe, that moment is an eternal jewel, forever gleaming in the crystal of space-time. The person you were in that moment is still there, still experiencing that joy. That version of you is forever running through that field, forever holding that child, forever bathed in the warm light of that perfect evening. It is a permanent installation in the gallery of reality. And this applies not just to moments, but to people. When we lose someone we love, our deepest pain comes from the sense of absolute annihilation. They're gone. Their voice, their touch, their presence erased from the universe. The river of time has swept them away. But in the block universe, they are not gone. They are simply in a different part of the block. Their entire life, their entire world line, remains a permanent, shining thread. Every moment you ever shared with them is preserved. The conversation you had over coffee last year, the trip you took together a decade ago, the first time you met, all of those moments are still there, still real. That person in those moments is still alive and still experiencing that reality. This does not erase the pain of your separation in your own timeline. You, in your present moment, are now on a path where their path no longer intersects with yours. The spotlight of your consciousness must now travel along a road where you cannot reach out and touch them. The pain of that separation is real, but the block universe offers a profound cosmic solace. It whispers that their existence has not been canceled. They have not been deleted from the hard drive of the universe. Their story is still there, complete and whole. You are simply on a different page of the great book now. This idea transforms how we see our own past. It is not something to be escaped or forgotten. It is a part of the permanent structure of who you are. The difficult moments, the times of struggle and pain, are also preserved. They are not erased, but they are part of the landscape that has shaped you. They are the valleys you had to cross to reach the hills beyond. And the beautiful moments are not just memories to be clung to, they are eternal realities to be cherished. You can, in a sense, send your love and gratitude back to those moments, knowing that the you who is in them is still there to receive it. It also changes our relationship with the present. If every moment is to be preserved for all eternity, then each moment becomes a work of art we are creating. This very moment, right now, how do you want it to be enshrined in the eternal museum of your life? Do you want it to be a moment of anxiety and distraction, or a moment of peace, of kindness, of gentle awareness? It invites you to treat each moment as a precious jewel you are carefully placing in the mosaic of your existence. You are not just getting through the day. You are building a permanent structure. You are carving a sculpture that will last forever. This imbues every simple act with a kind of sacredness. The act of preparing a meal, of listening to a piece of music, of watching the sunset, these are not just fleeting experiences. They are the creation of eternal beauty. So, let this thought comfort you. The past is not a ghost. It is a garden that is still in bloom. The people you have loved are not gone. They are stars that are still shining, just in a different part of the sky of space-time. And your own life, with all its joys and sorrows, is not a fleeting wisp of smoke. It is an eternal tapestry, woven with threads of light, and every single moment is a masterpiece, preserved forever in the silent, shimmering, crystalline halls of reality. Section 7. The path already carved. We have found a strange and profound comfort in the block universe. It is a gallery of eternal moments, a place where nothing beautiful is ever truly lost. It gives our lives a sense of permanence, of artistry. But now, we must turn our gaze from the sunlit garden of the past to the misty, and perhaps unsettling, landscape of the future. And here, we must face the most difficult and counterintuitive implication of this static, four-dimensional world. If the block universe is real, if the crystal of space-time contains all moments, then it does not just contain the past. It contains the future. The path ahead of you, which feels so open and full of possibility, is, in this model, already carved. The choices you have yet to make, the person you will become, the events that will shape the rest of your life, they are already there. They exist in the block with the same solid reality as your present and your past. The future is not a realm of what might be. It is the realm of what is, just in a location you haven't reached yet. Let this idea settle gently, without panic. It runs so contrary to our deepest feelings about ourselves that it can feel like a personal attack. Our entire sense of self, of agency, is built on the belief that we are the authors of our own stories. We believe that we stand at a crossroads, weigh our options, and freely choose our path. This feeling of free will is perhaps the most defining characteristic of our humanity. It is the foundation of our systems of morality, of responsibility, of praise and blame. You feel responsible for your actions because you feel you chose them. But the block universe seems to whisper a different, more challenging story. It suggests that the feeling of choice might be part of the illusion. Let's go back to our metaphor of life as a great novel, already written from beginning to end. You are a character in this novel. At a certain point in the story, the character faces a difficult decision. The narrative describes the character's internal struggle, their weighing of pros and cons, their feelings of doubt and anxiety. Then, the character makes a choice and acts upon it. From the character's perspective within the story, the choice was free. They experienced the process of deliberation and felt themselves to be the cause of the outcome. But for you, the reader, looking at the complete book, you know that the character's choice was always going to be what was written on the page. The outcome was fixed from the moment the author wrote the final word. The character's feeling of free will was simply part of the narrative itself, a description of the psychological processes that led to the predetermined action. Could our own lives be like this? Could our feeling of deliberation, of making a choice, be the subjective experience of our brain's computational processes following a path through space-time that is already laid out? The turmoil you feel when making a hard decision would be real. The sense of relief or regret that follows would be real. But the idea that you could have chosen differently might be the illusion. You chose what you were always going to choose because that choice is the one that exists on your world line in the block universe. This is the ancient philosophical concept of determinism, but given a new and powerful form by modern physics. Determinism is the idea that every event is necessitated by antecedent events and conditions, together with the laws of nature. In the block universe, this is made manifest. The antecedent events are your entire past history and the universe's history, and the laws of nature are the rules that govern the shape of space-time. The future is the logical, inevitable consequence of the past, all laid out in a single, self-consistent pattern. This can feel deeply demoralizing. If your future is already set, why bother trying? Why strive to be a better person? Why struggle against your worst impulses? If the outcome is already fixed, what is the point of the effort? But perhaps this is the wrong way to look at it. The block universe doesn't say that your choices don't matter. In fact, it says they matter immensely. They are what creates the future. The future that is written is the one that is written because of your struggles, your efforts, your deliberations. The version of you that exists in the future becomes a kind person not by magic, but because the version of you now is going through the process of trying to be kind. Your effort is not a futile gesture against a fixed fate. It is the very mechanism by which your fated future comes into being. Think of it this way. A character in a novel becomes brave because the author writes scenes of them acting bravely. Your future self is the person they are because you, right now, are performing the actions and thinking the thoughts that lead to that outcome. You are not an observer of your life. You are a participant. Your feeling of agency is the subjective experience of your part of space-time causing the next part of your space-time. The causal link is still there. The future you is a direct consequence of the present you. The block universe simply says that this whole causal chain already exists, timelessly. So, how do we live with this? We live by focusing on the process, not the outcome. We act as if we have free will, because the subjective experience of it is all we have, and it is the engine of our lives. You must still make the choice to be kind. You must still put in the effort to learn a new skill. You must still struggle to forgive. The future in which you are kind, knowledgeable, and forgiving only exists because it is connected to a present in which you are trying. The knowledge that the path may already be carved doesn't mean you should stop walking. It simply means you should walk it with as much grace, intention, and awareness as you can muster. You are not a puppet whose strings are being pulled. You are the embodiment of a segment of the universe's grand, intricate, and self-consistent story. You are a verb, not a noun. Your doing is what makes the future be what it is. This is a deep paradox, a thought that the mind struggles to hold. It is the clash between the timeless, God's eye view of the universe and the time-bound, first-person experience of being human. Perhaps the best we can do is to hold both truths at once, to accept the possibility that our story is already written, while knowing that our most profound duty is to live it as if it were not. Section 8. The Quantum Cloud of Maybe. We have been walking on a hard road. The path through the block universe, with its pre-carved future, can feel like a path of cold, chiseled stone. It is a world of magnificent but rigid certainty, a crystal palace where our struggles and choices seem to be mere performances in a play whose final act is already written. It is the universe of determinism, beautiful in its logical perfection, but perhaps chilling to the human heart that yearns for freedom. But now, let us pause on this stone path. Let us feel a change in the air, a softening at the edges. A gentle fog seems to be rolling into the valleys of our four-dimensional landscape. Physics, the very discipline that gave us the hard certainty of relativity's block universe, also offers us a strange and wonderful counterpoint. It offers us a world not of certainty, but of possibility. It invites us now to leave the macroscopic world of planets and clocks, and to drift down into the realm of the impossibly small. We are entering the quantum world. The quantum realm is the foundation upon which our reality is built. It is the world of the electrons that dance in atoms, the photons of light that travel from distant stars to your eyes. And down here, the universe seems to stop behaving like a well-oiled machine. It begins to behave like a dream. The solid, reliable rules of our world dissolve into a shimmering haze of uncertainty and potential. In our everyday world, a thing is in one place at one time. A stone is either here or it is there. But in the quantum realm, this is not so. A particle, like an electron, before it is measured or observed, does not have a definite position. It exists as a wave of probability. You can think of it not as a tiny, solid bead, but as a shimmering cloud of possibility. It is a ghost of all its potential selves, existing in many places at once. It is here and there and everywhere it could be, all at the same time. The universe, at its most fundamental level, seems to be a creature of profound indecision. This is the principle of superposition. It is as if the universe, at its smallest scale, has not yet committed to a single story. It holds all the potential storylines in its hands at once. And it's not just the position of a particle that is uncertain. Its other properties, like its momentum or its spin, are also held in this state of suspended potential. It is only when we interact with this cloud of possibility when we, or a measuring device, try to look at the particle to pin it down that the universe seems to be forced to make a choice. The moment of observation is the moment the cloud of maybe collapses into a single, concrete is. The wave of potential crystallizes into a single, solid fact. The electron appears right here. The story commits. So what does this deep, fundamental fuzziness at the heart of reality mean for our block universe? It suggests that the block might not be a solid, clear crystal after all. Perhaps it is more like a block of frozen fog, where the past is sharp and clear, but the future is a thick, swirling cloud of overlapping possibilities. This gives birth to a new, and perhaps more hopeful, picture of space-time. The future is not a single, pre-carved path. It might be a vast, branching delta of potential pathways, a garden of forking paths. Every possible outcome, every choice you could make, may exist as a potential timeline, a ghostly branch in the great tree of the future. In this model, the future is not determined, it is probabilistic. There is not one single, inevitable outcome. There is a whole spectrum of outcomes, each with a different probability of occurring. The laws of quantum mechanics would tell you how likely each branch is, but not which one will become real. So, how does one single reality, our lived experience, emerge from this infinite cloud of maybes? This is where the spotlight of your consciousness takes on a new and more powerful role. Perhaps your consciousness, as it moves along the timeline, is not just a passive lamp illuminating a path that is already there. Perhaps it is an active participant in creation. Perhaps the very act of your awareness moving from one moment to the next is the observation that forces the universe to choose. As the spotlight of the now sweeps forward, it encounters the shimmering cloud of future possibilities. And its light, the light of your lived experience, is what collapses the wave of potential into the single, solid reality of your life. The act of observing, of choosing, of living, is what coaxes one single, beautiful path out of the infinite cloud of what could be. This does not mean you can choose to fly by flapping your arms. The probabilities are still governed by the laws of physics. The branches of possibility are not limitless. But in those small, human moments of choice, where multiple pathways are genuinely possible, your act of choosing might be the very thing that solidifies one branch and lets the others fade back into the mist of unreality. This softens the hard edges of determinism without completely destroying the structure of the block universe. The future exists, but it exists as a landscape of potential. It is a quantum cloud of maybe. The path is not carved in stone ahead of you. It is more like you are walking through a field of deep snow, and your passage is what creates the path behind you. This vision of reality is a beautiful dance between what is written and what is yet to be decided. It is a universe that is both a complete structure and a story that is writing itself at every moment. It restores a sense of agency, a sense of meaning to our choices, without throwing away the profound insights of relativity. Your life is not just a performance of a finished script. It is a collaboration between you and the cosmos. The universe presents you with a cloud of possibilities, and your conscious experience is the force that weaves it into a single, unique, and beautiful tapestry. You are not just a traveler on a pre-made road. You are a pioneer, and the future is the wilderness of potential that you are helping to tame, one precious, unfolding moment at a time. Section 9. A conversation between moments. We find ourselves now between two majestic and seemingly contradictory visions of the universe. In one hand, we hold the block universe of relativity, a static, eternal crystal where all of time exists at once. In the other, we hold the quantum cloud of maybe, a shimmering, probabilistic world where the future is an open garden of forking paths. How can these two realities coexist? How can the universe be both a finished story and a story that is writing itself? The answer may lie in changing our understanding of one of the most fundamental concepts we have, causality, the idea of cause and effect. Our intuitive picture of causality is simple and linear, like a line of dominoes. The first domino falls, and it knocks over the second. The second knocks over the third, and so on. The cause always comes before the effect. The past pushes the present, and the present pushes the future. This is the very engine of the river of time. Without it, the flow makes no sense. The arrow of time and the arrow of causality seem to be one and the same. But if the block universe is real, even a fuzzy, quantum one, this simple, linear picture of causality starts to break down. If all moments exist simultaneously, how can one moment be said to cause another in a simple, forward-moving chain? The dominoes are not falling one after another. They are all standing or falling at once as part of a single, static picture. This invites us to imagine causality in a new and more holistic way. Perhaps causality is not a push from the past. Perhaps it is a principle of consistency that ripples throughout the entire block of space-time. Think of it not as a line of dominoes, but as a crossword puzzle. When you're solving a crossword, you might fill in the answer for one across. This new word now constrains the possible answers for all the down words that cross it. And when you fill in a down word, it, in turn, helps you solve the next across word. The clues don't just flow in one direction. Information from every part of the puzzle influences every other part. The final, solved puzzle is a web of interlocking, mutually consistent answers. No single word caused another. They all coexist in a state of perfect, logical harmony. What if the block universe is like a solved crossword puzzle? What if every event in space-time is like a word in the puzzle, constrained not just by the past, but by the future as well? This is a mind-bending idea. It suggests that what happens in the future can have an influence on what happens in the past. This is not to say you can send a message back in time to change the past. The past is what it is. But it suggests that the reason the past is what it is partly because the future is what it is. The entire story of the universe must be self-consistent. Let's use a gentle example. Imagine you decide to take a walk in the park tomorrow. That is your future choice. In the block universe, that event walking in the park is already a feature of the space-time landscape. For that event to be possible, a whole chain of prior events must be consistent with it. You had to have woken up in the morning. You had to have had shoes to wear. The park had to have been built. The earth had to have formed. All of these past events are shaped and constrained by the future fact that you'll take that walk. They are all part of the same, coherent, interlocking story. This is a subtle but profound shift. The past isn't just pushing the future. The past and the future are in a timeless conversation with each other, a delicate dance to ensure that the entire history of the universe makes sense. This can even help us understand some of the deep strangeness of the quantum world. There are famous experiments in quantum mechanics, like the delayed choice experiment, which seem to show that a choice made by an experimenter now can affect the behavior of a particle in the past. In a linear, domino-like view of time, this is impossible and paradoxical. But in a self-consistent crossword puzzle universe, it makes a strange kind of sense. The observer's choice in the present is one of the clues in the puzzle. The particle's past behavior must be consistent with that future clue. The entire history of the particle, from its creation to its detection, unfolds as a single, coherent story, all at once. This perspective softens the feeling of being trapped by the past. In the domino model, you are a product of what came before you. You are the result of a long, deterministic chain pushing you from behind. But in the crossword model, you are an active and crucial part of the entire web of meaning. Your present moment is not just a passive effect of the past. It is an active constraint on both the past and the future. Your existence, your choices, your consciousness, they are all necessary clues that help define the entire shape of the cosmic puzzle. You are not just the last domino in a line. You are a key word in the center of the puzzle, without which the whole thing would be an unsolvable mess. This transforms causality from a brute force push into a subtle, elegant conversation. The universe is constantly talking to itself across all of time, ensuring its own logical and narrative integrity. Every event resonates with every other event. The fall of a sparrow is linked to the birth of a star, not just through a linear chain of causes, but through a web of holistic consistency. This is a deeply interconnected vision of reality. It means that your life is not an isolated event. It is a necessary and meaningful part of a grand, cosmic tapestry where every thread is connected to every other thread, forwards and backwards in time. You are in a constant, silent conversation with the beginning of the universe, and with its end. You are a word in the great poem of reality, a word that gives meaning to the words that came before, and is given meaning by the words that are yet to come. Section 10. How to walk through the garden. Our journey is drawing to a close. We began in the familiar, flowing river of time, a river that carried us with a powerful and intuitive current. But we followed its course into the strange lands of physics, and we watched as the river dissolved, revealing a vast, four-dimensional landscape beneath the block universe, a crystal palace where all of time exists at once. We searched for the river's arrow and found it not in a flow, but in the very grain of this landscape, the gentle, cosmic slope from the perfect order of the beginning toward the quiet chaos of the end. We looked for the traveler on this path and found it in the moving spotlight of our own consciousness, a light that creates the illusion of a journey through a static world. We then saw this crystal palace soften at the edges, its future becoming a quantum cloud of shimmering possibilities, a garden of forking paths where our own choices might help to weave reality into being. And we reimagined the rigid chain of cause and effect as a gentle, timeless conversation between moments, a great cosmic crossword puzzle where every part gives meaning to every other. We have wandered far from the simple river, And now, as we stand here, amidst this strange and beautiful garden of space-time, we are left with the same question we always face at the end of such a journey. How, then, shall we live? What does this new vision of time mean for the simple, human act of walking through the days of our lives? The knowledge that time may not flow, that the past and future may coexist, does not have to be a source of anxiety or a philosophical puzzle to be solved. Instead, it can be a secret key to unlocking a more profound and peaceful way of being in the world. First, it invites you to make peace with your past. If the past is not a vanished ghost but a permanent country that is part of your very structure, then you cannot escape it. But you can change your relationship to it. You can stop trying to run from it, or wishing it away. You can see it as the landscape that shaped you. The difficult terrains, the dark valleys, they were part of the journey that brought you to where you are now. You can look back upon them not with regret, but with a kind of gentle acceptance, even compassion for the person you were who had to walk that road. You can send your wisdom and forgiveness back to that person, knowing that in the timeless reality of the block universe, they're still there. Second, it changes how you approach the future. If the future is not a terrifying, empty void, but a landscape of potential that already exists in some form, then you can let go of some of the deep, gnawing anxiety we feel about it. Your task is not to create the future from nothing, but to walk into it with grace and intention. You can trust that the path is there. Your work is to walk it well. This doesn't mean passivity. It means focusing your energy not on worrying about the destination, but on the quality of your footsteps, right here, right now. Because your present footsteps are what constitute the path ahead. And this leads to the most important lesson of all, the sacredness of the present moment. In the old river of time, the now was a fleeting, slippery thing, always vanishing. We were always rushing away from the past and hurtling toward the future. But in the block universe, the now is our only point of contact with reality. It is the one place where the spotlight of our consciousness shines. It is the one frame in the film we are truly experiencing. This vision of time teaches us to stop living in the ghost land of the past or the dreamland of the future, and to come home to the only place that is truly real for us, this moment. It invites you to treat this moment as an eternal jewel, because it is. This very breath, this sensation of quiet, this feeling of your own presence, this is not just a stepping stone to the next moment. This is it. This is a permanent location in space-time. This is a work of art you are creating that will exist forever. How do you want this eternal moment to feel? This way of seeing things is the heart of mindfulness. It is the practice of inhabiting your life, not just passing through it. To truly taste your food, to truly hear the music, to truly see the face of the person you are with. Because in that act of pure, focused attention, you are polishing the eternal jewel of this moment. You are honoring its place in the grand, silent, beautiful museum of reality. So, walk through the garden of your life. Know that the paths behind you are still in bloom. Know that the paths ahead are waiting for you, shimmering with potential. But above all, pay attention to the small patch of ground you are standing on right now. Feel the solid earth of the present beneath your feet. This is where your life is. This is where it has always been. This is where it will be, forever. The quiet of the night is now settling around you. The grand, cosmic questions can fade away. Their work is done. They have brought you to a place of wonder, and now they can release you into a place of peace. Let go of the thoughts of past and future, of time and eternity. They are just stories. The only story that matters now is the gentle, rhythmic story of your own breath. Feel it flow in and out, a soft and steady tide. It is the anchor that holds you in the calm harbor of the present moment. There is nothing to do, nothing to solve, nowhere to go. There is only this breath, this moment, this peace. Allow your body to grow heavy, to feel safe and supported. Allow your mind to become quiet, like a still, moonlit garden. Rest now. You are a part of this beautiful, mysterious universe, a timeless jewel in a silent, starry sky. Sleep well. Good night.